Hello and welcome to Breakfast Central today on a Thursday morning. It feels really good to be back on the air with so many things happening in the past 24 hours, and it's our duty, our job to bring to you the big stories, the big headlines, the big interviews, and talking to those that really matter, especially on issues that we need to dissect appropriately. We don't argue here. We don't shout here on Breakfast Central. We ask the right questions, dissect the real stories, and find the meaning to every single news that makes the headlines so that you, watching us, can benefit and seem to navigate, especially each day and every time you watch us. My name is Joe Hansen, and I'm saying welcome to Breakfast Central. Binga, what's good?
Welcome to Breakfast Central, wherever you're watching across the world, whether you're watching from Bordeaux, Toronto, or Cairo in Egypt. You're welcome to Nigeria's #1 breakfast show. This is where we bring you all the latest news, information, and analysis of the biggest stories you need to know, the biggest stories you need to start your day with. And as always, we have a bumper package for you today. And we're complete. Yeah, the three musketeers are here. The three gifts that were given by God, gold, frankincense, and myrrh, are here. And I welcome you back to the set, Olive, from your national assignment.
And when he spoke about gold, that would be me.
So who is gold, who's frankincense?
I don't know.
I think Joe is myrrh. Myrrh. Guys, it's too early.
It's too early, please. All right, gold, but the actual name is Olive. Thank you very much for joining us today on Breakfast Central. It's a delight to be back here with you on our TV screens, bringing some of the biggest stories across the nation. We're streaming live on YouTube. News Central TV Live is where we're streaming. We, of course, can't wait to get into the conversations with you and to get your thoughts on any of the stories that catch your eye. The ones you agree with, the ones you disagree with, and the ones you'd like to share opinions on. Also, remember that when we get to the phone line segment, the newspaper analysis, we open the phone lines because we want to hear from you as well. So please stay tuned and keep engaging with us once again. You're welcome to Breakfast Central.
Okay.
All right, gentlemen.
All right.
I like the,
okay.
All right.
oh, that sounds like...
It's okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. But it's good to be back. It's good to be back. It's good to be back.
Okay. Let's get into wake-up conversations. There's a lot to talk about today. So
I was going to get my remote control on this this first story, and I forgot everything I was going to bring to discuss this story.
You needed props.
No, I needed props. No, I was going to read it with the props as well, so that I can play. I want to go back in time because we have to go back in time with this first story.
So you know what? You can use your glass case as pretend.
Okay, maybe the remote. Okay. Okay, all right. So let's move.
So we should get into the story now?
Yes, so this first story is a story that I think has generated conversations, arguments, laughter, so many things online. So let's start. Like a nation that's actually flipping back through old headlines to fact-check its memory. Former presidential aide and now ambassador Reno Omokri has thrown his weight behind the son of the president, the first son of the president, like they usually say, Seyi Tinubu's City Boy movement, insisting Nigeria is not worse off than it was 10 years ago. In a video posted on Wednesday on his X platform, Omokri challenged critics by recalling a period marked by Niger Delta pipeline bombings that cut oil production drastically. See where it took us to way back. Deadly kidnappings along the Abuja-Kaduna highway. See where it took us again, way back. Unrest in southeast, violence in southern Kaduna. Sorry guys, has the violence stopped? Or we still have violence in these places?
Well,
but don't take our word for it.
We'll get into the analysis.
Let's watch this video first. And then we will play back and find out if all these things that he said on this video is actually true, or it's just a farce, or just to save face. But we'll find out. Just watch this video first.
the City Boy movement, and I'm going to tell you why. Recently, some people who should know better said that Nigeria is now worse off than it was 10 years ago. Now, let me take your minds back to what was happening 10 years ago. In the Niger Delta, we had Niger Delta Avengers. They had bombed the oil and gas sector. Nigeria had gone from 1.9 million barrels per day to less than 1 million barrels per day. In the southeast, you had secessionists who had put that region almost to a standstill. 128 police stations were shut down. We moved down to the northwest, and then from Abuja to Kaduna, you could not drive. Every day it was a death trap. People were being abducted, they were being kidnapped. In southern Kaduna, there was a genocide. People seem to have forgotten that. In the northeast, in Maiduguri, you had about 7 local governments where Boko Haram were in control. Now, because we have a very short memory in this country, we tend to forget about these things. All of these things have passed away. In the Nigerian Defense Academy, Boko Haram went there. Our Defense Academy killed soldiers. Boko Haram attacked the Presidential Guard of Brigades in Buhari. All of these things don't happen. 600 terrorists went with their motorbikes to Kuje prison, freed 849 of their colleagues. All of these things don't happen again. 10 years ago, states could not pay salaries. What's happening right now? Each state in Nigeria is getting at least 200% what they were getting 10 years ago. Somebody said the president is using jazz. No, the president is using performance. We've had 12 cycles of trade surpluses in this country. 12 cycles of GDP growth in this country. The IMF, the World Bank, they've projected that our GDP is going to grow by 4.44% this year. And then people are saying that the president is using jazz. No, it is performance. You watching this, have you ever slept in a petrol station looking for fuel? Have you even experienced fuel scarcity? If you're a student, ASU strike is like a thing of the past, ancient history. Why? Because we have a leader right now who knows how to handle this country because he has gone through the stages. That's why I believe in the City Boy movement. I ask you, these people who are saying that Nigeria was better 10 years ago, let them right now, because if you remember last year I drove with journalists without any security from Abuja to Kaduna. People can do that right now. In southern Kaduna, people are no longer being killed. Yes, we have security issues localized, but I'm going to tell you, in December, 1.2 million tourists visited Nigeria, Lagos, for Dirty December. Not one was killed, not one robbery, not one domestic incident. So I'm telling you, Nigeria is better right now. We've gone from a foreign reserve of less than 30 billion. Right now, we have a foreign reserve of 50 billion, approaching 51 billion. In 2 years, President Tinubu has added $67 billion to the economy. What is there not to like? That's why I support the City Boy movement, and I'm urging you, remember where we're coming from so that you remember where we are today. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you.
Okay, all right, that's Mr. Reno Omokri, or Ambassador Reno Omokri. He made a lot of statements, so many things said in one short video, and if we're not careful, some of those things mentioned will be interpreted to be absolutely correct. But this morning on Wake Up Conversation, Mr. Reno Omokri, we want to highlight that some of those statements you made were completely not correct. You did highlight how safety the places are today, but I don't know if you are in Nigeria, Mr. Reno Omokri. Maybe you just flew in, had that conversation with the son of the president, and then flew out. Because I don't know if you've seen the copper who has been kidnapped. People have been kidnapped. Killings have increased. You might want to take a look at the Daily Independent, or better still, the Daily Trust newspaper of 2 days ago. They've done a breakdown. They've explained how many in numbers of persons have been kidnapped, how much has been spent so far. So we don't know if this is a hype, or better still, this is a new task that has been added to the list of the ambassadors. But we're going to go back to find out who you were and your position just not too long ago. So I'm able to have a remote control here, and I'd like to beg Oliver and Benga to give me a chance to play, and let's go back in time. So let's see one of your videos, and we would like to also find out if this was true or false from you as well.
Like I told you, the man at the center of Bola Tinubu's white heroin drug cartel has died. I mean, the death was just mysterious. You know, he was said to be on the roof of his house, and then he fell down and he died. I mean, just look at that. A week ago, this 52-page document came out from the Chicago court exposing his name, exposing the fact that he was at the center of the white heroin drug cartel and that Bola Tinubu was the launderer of their monies. And then all of this information came out. The media has been looking for him, trying to investigate him, trying to talk to him and get his own side of the story. And all of a sudden, just last night, he dies. I mean, it is too convenient. Mathematically, this coincidence is just impossible. Look, Nigerians, especially the media, we have to go back to the circumstances surrounding the death of Funsho Williams. Because it's just similar. This was a man who was in opposition to Bola Tinubu, Funsho Williams, and mysteriously he died. Men went to his house and then they shot him. And then in this other instance, you had a situation whereby a man mentioned in court documents as being the leader of Bola Tinubu's white heroin drug cartel just dies mysteriously just last night, November 16th, 2022. I mean, look. Nigerians, something is fishy. This is classic drug cartel behavior. This is classic Delegiwa behavior. This is what happens in Panama, what happens in Colombia, what happens in drug cartel territories in Mexico. We cannot allow this to happen in Nigeria. We need to find out why. What are the circumstances leading to this man's death? Because this is not a coincidence at all. Bola Tinubu has questions to answer. Thank you for watching, and God bless.
That's the same Reno Omokri. Okay, let's play another one. Maybe we want to be sure if it's the same person again. Somebody, who was that? Let's take the last one. Maybe we'll find another video. Let's play this one.
To answer a simple question, just yes or no, are you a drug lord? Because we've got documents showing that you were involved in a heroin cartel in Chicago between the years of 1991 and 1993. So it's a very, very simple question. We've got the documents showing that you forfeited almost $500,000 to the US government. And I have a master's in law, and if you read law, you know that when you forfeit, it's almost like a conviction, because what you're saying is that, look, yes, I'm guilty, but I don't want to go all the way to trial. You know, take what you want and then leave me alone. And so we need to ask this question, Bola Tinubu, were you a heroin drug lord? Because we don't want a person who is connected to drugs being our president. If you were not contesting to be president of Nigeria, I wouldn't be doing this video. It's a very, very simple question. Some people reached out to me, I got threats, which I'm going to ignore, but you know, well-meaning people reached out to me and said, look, you know, leave this matter, it's in the past. Why should I leave this matter? How do you know it's in the past? Look at the kind of cartel behavior that Bola Tinubu has been exhibiting since 1999. Everybody who wants to be anything from governor to commissioner to other positions in Lagos have to come through him. That is a typical cartel behavior. Look what's happening right now with the National Union of Road Transport Workers. They have Bola Tinubu stickers on their Danfo buses and other public transport buses. They have to pay 20,000, they say, to buy the stickers, and then a renewal fee of 10,000 every month. Otherwise, what they call Agbero, or you know, the National Union of Road Transport Workers, which are led by Bola Tinubu's thugs in Lagos, will just cause mayhem. So that's that cartel behavior. And then if he's done it in Lagos, he's going to take it to Aso work if he's elected. So we as a people should be asking these questions. He's not contesting to be president of the Tinubu household, he's contesting to be our president. So we want to know, Bola Tinubu, are you a heroin drug lord? Because we don't want a Pablo Escobar kind of president. We don't want Nigeria to be reduced to Colombia. We already have enough problems with insecurity. We don't want drug cartels now fighting over. We don't want anybody to make our president vulnerable. These are questions. Yes or no, Bola Tinubu, were you a drug lord? Just yes or no.
Okay, all right. I think that's all I can see on this flash drive. I've been able to play all the videos. Why are we going back in time? Just to highlight the need for Nigerians to be careful from what source they listen to information. And I think,
I know Reno has character flaws, and he's one person that, can change his mind depending on the weather and his personal interest. But the things he said in that video, and I don't want to get all modeled into his character. Let's separate the character of the person from the facts of the matter. The things he said in that video, talking about 10 years ago, these things did happen. I mean, I was on set. I was a journalist. I'm still a journalist. I know what happened. It talked about the attack in the NDA. It talked about all these things. But let's put it in context. There was a time where Boko Haram was holding local governments. But that was a failure of an administration it was part of. It was part of the security breaches that you allow kidnappers, terrorists, do things to Nigerians and you don't nip it in the bud. It's the failure of that government. And still today, it doesn't mean it is better. This government is also failing.
Because I was about to ask you, are they still holding local governments now?
It's failing in its responsibility to protect Nigerians. So we cannot compare failure with failure. We need to call on, it's not, we're often in the middle of doing this as Nigerians. Okay, my own failure is better than your failure. At least I didn't fail as much as you. We should focus on dealing with the situation, not comparing the past, not comparing rubbish. And that was not necessary. You can support the City Boy movement without without comparing bad situations with a bad situation. So that's just my take.
Okay, there are many things that he spoke about. I want to try and see how many I can touch on. He talked about 2015 to 2016 being the year where he said 10 years ago, where 2026, right? So 2015, 2016, thereabouts, being the year, saying that Nigeria is much better today than it was in that year. And like Benga said, I agree with some of the things that were said. A number of those things are factually correct. But what's wrong about Reno's analysis is that it may be factually correct in some sense, but it is selective analysis. He's not bringing the full picture of what the reality is. So we look at what some of the things that happened. 2014, 2016 was late Jonathan, early Buhari. A lot happened, oil price crash, Boko Haram, the territorial control of Boko Haram in some regions, those were factual. Niger Delta militants resurgence, those were factual. The recession, factual. But now let's talk about security. And I think when we talk about security, first thing to ask is security objectively better today than it was 10 years ago? Yes, maybe they're no longer holding territory.
But they're still killing Nigerians.
Exactly, they're no longer holding territories in the way that it was in that time. But can we genuinely say that Nigeria is a secure place? Reno Omokri made reference to traveling from Abuja to Kaduna with journalists and saying you couldn't do it back in the day. And making statements like that is Reno Omokri making mockery of Nigerians. Because every day we're talking about the hundreds of Nigerians that are being killed and kidnapped. He's making light of the current plight and the reality of Nigerians. And this insecurity now spirals into tourism. We talked about 1.2 million Nigerians visiting there to December. That's not because the quality of our life here is better. Yes, Nigerians have found a way to be resilient and push despite
Which states did they visit?
Good question.
And it's Lagos State.
Good question.
They're visiting Lagos. That's one. Two, regardless of the 1.2 million people visiting Lagos, Nigeria still ranks poorly in the Global Tourism Index. And insecurity is also something that fuels that perception. Let's talk about coming back to this same insecurity matter. Back in the day, yes, it was Boko Haram. Now it's evolved. There's conflict in the Middle Belt. We're seeing the farmer-header clashes. We're seeing kidnapping. Kidnapping has become the order of the day. So people can't even go out. I dare him and a number of these people in politics to go out without their entourage, to go out without their motorcade and without their convoy, and see if they'll be able to go back home in one piece. Apply these roads to enter public transport, apply the roads that Nigerians are applying, and see if they will come back to make this argument. It is a mockery of the reality of what Nigerians are expressing. He spoke about oil production falling during Niger Delta issues. He claimed that production dropped to about 1 million barrels per day in 2016, thereabout. Okay, that's great. Now, are we still meeting our OPEC quota? What are the numbers that we're doing? He talked about fuel scarcity, that Nigerians are no longer sleeping in the filling stations. And that's because President Bola Tinubu removed fuel subsidy. Recall that this same fuel subsidy, there was an attempt to remove it by President Goodluck Jonathan. President Bola Tinubu was part of the people that protested against that because the price obviously jumped. So right now it's saying what he criticized he has done, which is why last week when we had the APC national chairman, I asked, is it safe to say that President Bola Tinubu was hastily critical of President Goodluck Jonathan? Because the challenges he saw that President Jonathan was dealing with, that he said President Jonathan should resign from office as a result of him not being able to deal with those challenges. Are the challenges he's still dealing with? And what has he done? Has he been able to ensure that we have insecurity sorted? Can Nigerians boast of our country becoming a secure country?
To other parts of the country.
It's evolved. It's really evolved.
There was never insecurity in Kwara, Ondo State, you know. To
the magnitude that we're experiencing. And then he talked about fuel scarcity. Back to the issue of fuel scarcity. People no longer sleep in petrol stations. Is that true? Yes. They don't sleep in petrol stations.
As a result of NNPP refineries?
At that time, exactly. Yeah, let me land.
Mega, I love where both of you are taking this. I'm enjoying this.
At the time, yes, they were sleeping in sleeping in petrol stations. Now they are not sleeping. One, shout out to Dangote.
Period.
Two, at the time, fuel was 185 naira. It jumped to about 600, 700. As at today, of course, today's one is not their fault. There is war in the Middle East, so it's affected us in some measure. So fuel, the price still keeps climbing. We have moribund refineries that we've been advocating for them to decide what they want to do, sell it if they have to sell it, and ensure that these monies are invested elsewhere. But no, we're still having issues about that. And Nigerians cannot even afford to buy this fuel. There is fuel, they're not sleeping in petrol stations because they can't even buy the fuel. They're in their houses. So yes, while a part of what he has said in regards to the quality of life in that time may have been factual, but it does not present the full picture of what our current realities are. In the words of our president, when he said, "Now statistics will go chop," you bring all these numbers and you look at the quality of life of the average Nigerian. Has it improved? Can Nigerians say that the quality of their life right now is better than it was 10 years ago? Let's go to the streets and let's take a poll and let the voice of the people be the voice of God. That's my own.
Well, I think I appreciate the both of you. Thank you so much. You have been able to help me. I mean, this playback has helped us to go back and understand
the character of the person.
And Benga, I know you said character doesn't matter. Let me speak
No, I
clearly.
didn't say character doesn't matter.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you said you wanted to focus on the issue. I just want to highlight that. It is very circumspect that where you get your news from is important. And this is an information to Nigerians. We remember our parents oftentimes share WhatsApp messages. Oh, they said this. I will tell them, no, where did you get this news from? It's a farce. It's not true. I think Mr. Reno Omokri is making a mockery of Nigerians, even though that rhymes with his surname, because he said Nigerians have short memory. And I take that statement to be very annoying and abusive. A lady put out a video as of 3 days ago talking about how they murdered her husband.
We saw videos of bandits.
We've seen videos, NYSC copper. It has not been released till today. The family has paid.
Mass
the family has paid,
Benga. Of the day.
The bandits are on TikTok putting videos and they have huge followers. You are not highlighting these issues.
And the NSA is saying they are brothers.
You are not focused. So this is the ambassador that will represent Nigeria. You are not highlighting the major issues, but you are telling Nigerians that we are, in your words, we have short memory. In other words, Nigerians are not smart. In other words, myself...
now we're living in El Dorado.
Exactly.
Paradise.
In other words, myself, maybe Olive, maybe you, we're not thinking well. That's what you are telling us. So this morning, we came out to say, no. We need to I personally, I took it personal. And I said, I need to also let the ambassador, Reno Omokri, know that you are wrong. And such statements should not come out from leaders. We've seen leaders make use of statements that are derogatory. It's like telling Nigerians, you are stupid. But that's wrong. You don't say that.
And still focus, I'm glad you called him ambassador. 2 months since their clearance.
Where has he been to? Where has he gone to?
The postings,
nothing.
The ambassadors, even the most important capitals, they've not been designated. They've not resumed their duties. So it shows you how serious the government is.
At the end of the day, I say this to say that you can support whatever you move
without
city, but in fact, recruit Wizkid sang City Boy.
Davido, name them.
No, Wizkid because he sang City Boy, make we dance. Daddy, yo, make we dance. Recruit City Boy, Wizkid to come and perform for you. Do whatever you want to do. Nobody really cares about who you want to support or not. But don't disrespect the reality of Nigerians while doing that. That's all that we're saying. Don't downplay the issues that Nigerians are going with. We'll have to, I mean, this is the reality. More and more Nigerians are being forced to become internally displaced persons. It's bad enough that they fled their country to become third-class citizens in the West and still treated terribly in the West, even in their own home. This is the reality of what
we
Nigerians
saw data
experience.
recently that said that more Nigerians have been killed in the last 2 or 3 years than even conflicts in the Middle East.
Yes. And there's no, and you say it's not war.
Making a comparison.
Yesterday, as we speak now, a particular agitator was spotted yesterday. Sunday Igboho was out yesterday wearing the APC cap, and people were cheering and hailing him. And come and see the divide online. People were saying,
wow. They should have given...
Is this not the same person that the government tried to, during Buhari's time, they tried to attack him, hold him, and, lock him up? How come people were now comparing? How come Nnamdi Kanu is locked up and he was walking in all glare, spotted in the APC cap, and people were saying what's going on?
Okay.
The reason why I'm just highlighting this, guys, is that, listen, I felt that our jobs here was actually watered down by Mr. Reno Omokri by telling us that we have short memory and highlighting statistics and data that we analyze here every blessed day. We go on the field, our reporters spend their time trying to get the stories and so on, and they come here and tell the truth, and you're telling them it's a lie. So Nigerians, please be careful the kind of sources you take your news from. If it's not News Central or other credible news sources, any individual that comes to bamboozle and tell you stories, lies, and then tells you have short memory, please don't listen to that individual.
See, that one is even beyond news. Nigerians can compare that to the reality of what they're living.
Exactly.
It's just like telling somebody it's raining and then they go outside and the sun is shining. This one is something that they can easily and clearly see. You watching, is the quality of your life better? Is the money that you're spending, would you say that it has more value now than it did before? You answer. Let us know on YouTube. We're streaming News Central TV live on YouTube. Let's take what Nigerians are saying, but I'll start from YouTube and then I'll head to X. Our comments here on YouTube. Prince Ajibade says, who is Reno Omokri? He's an ambassador. We apologize for the viewing experience. We're seeing the comments regarding the viewing experience, and we promise that they're still working on it, and we hope that it will be resolved as soon as possible. Prince Ajibade, thank you. He says, I love you guys and your station so much. Please, we don't need the likes of, of Reno Omokri speaking on your station. Reno, okay. I don't know that I can take this. I still, Learning Aquarius is asking you, Joe, waiting this up with the glasses. And then he goes on to say, please, Reno is just making mockery of himself and his family. I don't take people like him serious. He should travel alone on road trip. I want to check something. And then Mokunye Chukwemeka says, since 2023, I stopped listening to Reno Omokri, and when I saw the video, I passed. He even blocked me on X. Can you see how Seyi was looking at him? How will he feed Mr. Stomach Infrastructure? Michael Obieku says, today's morning show is cracking me up. Reno Omokri, according to Said Jamil, Rhinoceros mockery is it? No, I can't say that one out. I'm sorry. Prince, okay, Mokunye Chukwemeka goes on to say, Niger Delta militancy ended since Yaradua, not even Jonathan. All the challenges Jonathan faced that Tinubu fought him for are worse now than in Jonathan's time. What has he done to improve the lives of Nigerians? The president doesn't care. And then we also said, I think those are the comments that we can take this morning. But please keep the comments coming. And yes, we've seen your complaints about the live stream. We've sent our team on it. They're monitoring it and they're doing all that they can. So please stay with us. Don't leave us alone. But now let's head to X and see what Nigerians are saying about Reno Omokri. Adora says, Reno must be tweeting from another Nigeria because the one way we did no resemble waiting him they describe. Pato says, if you want to define busybody as a human being, just present Reno without a caption. Interesting. And then the next tweet we have, he's spitting facts. City Boy movement is a force for the youths who will be interested in supporting President Tinubu. Correct. The next tweet.
Correct.
Seyi self knows sabi all these things when they talk. Uniro Oshi. And that's all that we have for now. We're going to break. When we come back, we have more conversations to look at this morning on Wake Up Conversations. So please stay with us.
You're welcome back from that very exhausted. Yeah, and we had to do it. I mean, we had to do it for the sake of the generality of Nigerians. It's time you don't, I mean, politicians need to know that you can't take millions of Nigerians for a ride. Like Olive said, support who you want to with your full chest, but don't insult the intelligence of Nigerians. And that brings us to this question. Just a few days ago, we had the chairman of the All Progressive Congress here with us. It was in our Abuja studio. We spoke with him, and I remember clearly, and I'm sure my colleagues can testify to the fact that Professor Nantawe Yilwada did say that, you know, after we mentioned that Aso Rock has gone off-grid, he said, you know, universities are also been, you know, they've gone off-grid. They have solar installations to give them 24 hours electricity. Well, the facts are different from this story. I'll let you be the judge yourself. Power outages have thrown University College Ibadan once again into near darkness, forcing staff to perform surgeries with headlamps and wards lit by phone torches as a 5-day warning strike over alleged electricity rationing by management takes effect. The Council of UCH union leaders representing 11 unions say that the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company restored power in February after 102 days of blackout. Internal rationing has also crippled service delivery and put patients at risk. Surgeries are routinely cancelled, lab results delayed, vaccines and medications pulled due to broken cold chain and critical equipment left idle, while staff are forced to improvise and also deal with severe water shortages. The unions warn that the hospital is losing millions of revenue daily, calling the measure revenue destroying, and demand an immediate end to electricity rationing. Restoration of water supply, repairs to faulty meters, and review of staff housing charges. They are urging the federal government to intervene urgently as patients, trainees and staff continue to bear the brunt of a crisis threatening one of Nigeria's most foremost tertiary hospitals. This is very heartbreaking and sad, because if you know the history of the University College Hospital in Ibadan, that people used to fly in from all over the world to come and seek medical treatment there, and it's been reduced to this. I mean, even the statement, you know, that there was a part there. Can you scroll up, please? It says a revenue destroying.
Yeah.
I mean, you're there to provide service. That's your primary responsibility to the people. You're there to heal the sick, and the money that comes is secondary. You should be more concerned about and they've rightly highlighted it, but I just didn't like that revenue destroying part.
No, but it's facts.
But
The hospital does not run on the
doctors?
blood of Jesus. It runs on revenue. So I think that is valid for them to argue that
Sorry,
it's
what did you say
revenue
again? The
destroying.
what?
The hospital does not run.
It doesn't run on the blood of Jesus. Yeah, no, but it's true.
runs
now.
on-
Yeah, it runs on revenue.
But putting it inside that, fix the infrastructure, fix the
I don't agree, Benga. I don't agree with that.
make it standard. We know they will make their money, but they won't make their money if the equipment are faulty, if they don't have lights, if the standard is abysmal.
Benga, it is a revenue destroying action. It's revenue destroying because the hospital is not making money. The hospital, UCH
Needs money to run.
It needs
its
money to run.
operations.
UCH was
Yeah.
established. You've talked about it. It's a premier hospital. It's a reference point to medicine in Nigeria. It was established as far back as 1957. Yes, and it's been a symbol of respect and regard. Has helped in tons of research in Nigeria. So when you talk about Nigeria's medical history and Nigeria's medical journey, UCH is a key focal point. Now, even if this were not UCH and was any other hospital, it would still be a shame that the hospitals that are still that are responsible for not just administering treatment but preserving life are forced to face blackouts. Last year, we took the story of when the strike happened and when there was argument about them using solar or not using solar. And it's not acceptable that citizens have to deal with power failure, but it's even worse off when it's hospitals. Hospitals are literally the line between life and death. So if a hospital does not have power, it's deeply indicative of something deeper, of the value that the society and the government of that day places on the quality of life that Nigerians live, the health that Nigeria provides. It's hard enough for Nigerians to be able to access healthcare. And it's even going to be worse if we continue to see things like this. Tons of Nigerian doctors are leaving. They're living in their droves, looking for opportunities. People are working in Saudi Arabia, working in different parts. Not because they want that. It's not of their own choosing. But it's because they don't have a better option. And these doctors need to get paid. Do you understand how hard it is to read, to become a doctor? I have a friend who's a medical doctor. The hours of studying.
Even after,
yes, she's done. She's done, she's practicing, but she still has another exam to write. She's studying. They go through intense, rigorous training that is deserving of being handsomely rewarded, if I might add. So they're putting their lives on the line. Doctors don't deserve the quality of life that we're given to them. Everybody, and this is not to discount or play down the importance of any career path. Everyone has a role to play. But in this case, doctors are the ones that are helping us preserve our life. You have a headache, you have malaria, you have anything, you're running to the hospitals. When we talk about, even with our fight against Ebola and how successful we were, the sacrifices of our doctors came into play. Dr. Stella Adadevo, putting her life on the line. So we can't continue to act like this. It's an ostrich in the sand approach. Everybody's acting like we are well, but the people who make the decisions don't receive medical care in Nigeria. They go abroad. So it's a shame. And we must call it out for what it is. And the unions, we're joining our voices to the unions to ask that the government steps in and this matter is resolved as quickly as possible. States are now generating their own electricity. So why is that not being fixed? I really like that you referenced the statement made by the APC National Chairman.
Yes, so where's the solar
I don't understand.
You see, guys, we are in a state where...
And we didn't push back that day because we were limited...
On time.
Yes.
And that's why we asked the APC national chairman to do well to grant us an opportunity to return and speak with us. But it's sad. If you know the UCH, if you go to the website, for instance, you want to know more, this is what they say. They say we are the flagship tertiary healthcare institution in Nigeria. And they go ahead to mention that they offer world-class, guys. UCH offers world-class training, research, and they also offer world-class services. World-class training.
With touchlights.
World-class research. Where do you put all the microbes and all those things? Where do you put your lab?
How do you store vaccines?
How do you store all those things? Yeah. World-class research. World-class services. They are telling people, please come back. No light. Will you not protest? So what we're trying to say here is, when we wake up in the morning, I always say this, and we're here, and we tell people that, listen, these are the stories, and this is what we've done in terms of our research, and this is what we've looked into. It is true. It is very painful to note that a very honorable, respected university teaching hospital will have to go through this. And at the end of the day, we hear, oh, we've put solar on all hospitals.
This is a hospital that the king of Saudi Arabia, reports have it that the Saudi royal family in the 1950s and 1960s, they used to visit this hospital for treatment. So the way that we are exporting medical tourism, we are importing medical tourism.
The question now is, look at from then.
The quality of our life.
Have we gone like this, or we've gone like this?
It would be nice for Reno to react.
But Reno Omokri this morning was shouting, it's better. That's why I say Nigerians, be very mindful of who you listen to.
And it's really, really sad and humbling. And I have to say that the decline of Nigeria didn't start with this administration. And this is for the Nigerian political elite to reflect on the country they have left behind. I think since the 1960s to date, everyone that has held political appointments, one way or the other, in Nigeria has failed generations of Nigerians. Are you proud of the country that Nigeria is today? We keep shifting blame. How can the current administration be blaming the past administration that is also an APC administration?
Is it not funny?
All we're asking for is just do your jobs. Is it so hard for you to do your jobs? We wake up in the morning, come here, we do our jobs to the best of our ability and we move on. If everyone just did their little part, we're not stealing office equipment. We're not taking bribes. We're not It's heartbreaking.
Benga,
Okay.
you were called to defend the budget. You could not defend the budget.
You didn't know how many companies have been
How many
registered.
companies have been registered yesterday? All it was done.
You don't know how much you have
you know, I didn't come with it.
raised.
Eh? And you wore infinity cap, thinking that the people who ask you questions, they will say,
You're head of
he's
a
one
government
us, let's leave him.
parastatal. You're wearing infinity cap.
You are in public office. Anyway, let's see what Nigerians are saying about this UCH story before we go to our final story, which Anne Benga had predicted yesterday will happen. Quick one. It says, Timitayo says, bro, I still can't wrap my head around the fact that in 2026, Nigeria still can't boast of steady electricity. A whole UCH Ibadan on strike and protesting for no light and water in this country. Is this intentional? Are politicians deliberately neglecting the power sector, or is there something deeper going on? Why is it so difficult for Nigerian leaders to provide 24/7 electricity for the people? Why? It's insane that we can boast of 24 hours power supply in a country that claims to be giant, that we can't boast of a 24-hour power supply in a country that claims to be giant of Africa. Well, that giant of Africa aspect is now being questioned.
You know,
but
somebody, just to, before we take this.
Let's see another one.
Okay. UCH is on strike because no water, no light. This is one of the biggest and most important health institutions in Nigeria. This is preposterous, says Dr. Ajibade.
Yeah,
it's indeed very
preposterous.
Somebody put up a tweet recently and said, do we have missile interceptors? What if one of these
See how much those missile interceptors cost?
Nigeria.
You don't get
the
light.
answer was, do you have light?
You get light. You won't go get missile in
It's
it,
truth. And I think that should be the basis of every, giant of Africa, any statement we are making. We should bring it back to the basics. Electricity. Do we have lights?
And reference what the president said, if I do not produce or give you power, do not...
Listen, we're going to buy our time, and I think it's very good that the fourth realm of the estate, which is the media, should buy our time, and fourth estate of the realm, I beg your pardon, should buy our time to highlight these things, and that's exactly what we do. This one says, UCH on 5 days warning strike. Guess the reason for the strike? Adelabu, he shouts. UCH, they beg for light, yet...
Our governor.
Saki rep, shit to the yarn nonsense, be like say they don't use sense. This one is angry, you can tell. You know, sometimes when we bring these tweets up, it just shows you the way Nigerians are feeling. EV says, when the government is spending 36 million naira in a year on health for 230 million people, how can there be light, water and other basics? But don't worry, we have $60 million in our external reserve. Relax, says Tinubu is fixing Nigeria. You see, that's what we're going to take. Okay, let's take this last one. It's really disheartening. UCH went from being a top-tier, highly respected hospital in sub-Saharan Africa to struggling with basic utilities like water and electricity. Years of underfunding, management challenges, and infrastructural decay seem to have taken a heavy toll, and it shows how even leading institutions can decline without consistent support and investment. And that's the truth. But let's quickly mention here that you could drop a comment or two. We must apologize for our stream on YouTube. We do understand it's a bit shaky. However, you can also watch us on other socials. We're also streaming live on X, and you can find us on Facebook as well. You can watch us on DSTV, GoTV, and of course the likes of other platforms. But that's what we've taken. Yesterday, myself and Benga predicted what had happened, how the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria decided to end cash payments and focused on digital transactions, which is you pay cashless when you get into the airport yesterday. And we discussed how it had caused a lot of challenges. We also had the MD CEO of FAN, one whom I applauded 2 weeks ago, of how she was able to handle the issue of the inferno just weeks back. But we mentioned here yesterday, I don't know if our producers have what we said yesterday, that we are certain that there will be a reversal. Not because we just said it, but because we have spent years in this game and we know how these things happen. Let's just take a look.
Airports Authority of Nigeria that has decided to, go 21st century in implementing a no-cash policy. It will be nice if you streamline your systems, if things are done in a more organized manner, because lots of Nigerians have been missing their flights in the last few days since FAN went cashless, because traffic backs up. Apparently there are systems, there are things you need to do before you can make payment, and as a result of that, a number of Nigerians have missed their flights.
Well, if you go back to the video on YouTube, we just had to bring you a snippet of it. We had related what had happened during the NIN time, where the former Minister of Communication, Pantami, had said, no NIN, then you're going to have your SIM blocked. And in the heat of the pandemic, Nigerians were rushing and falling over themselves. Older people were getting injured because they went to register, and then they said, oh, sorry, we've cancelled. There's also the issue of the application for jobs. I think the Nigerian Customs or something, where they will say, where they mentioned that they needed 1,000.
It was NCDC, I think.
No.
NCDC or immigration.
Customs.
Yes, there was immigration. There was customs, there was
yeah.
immigration. And the crowd, and then all of a sudden
Stampede.
they cancelled. We've seen too many back and forth. And then we saw travelers. People missed their flights. People were stranded. People were using Okada to get to the area. All because you brought out a policy that you didn't think through. If only you thought through about the policy, then you would have thought about the implementation. But just yesterday, the Minister of Aviation and what's it called?
Aerospace.
I always like being whatever I say.
Aerospace.
You know, and then what do you add? You don't know where we are. Came out and said the president has directed. There was a FEC yesterday. There was a Federal Executive Council meeting yesterday where President Tinubu said, oh, by the way, they are going to destroy Carter Bridge. It was part of the FEC yesterday. The president said Carter Bridge should be remodeled, so it's going to be brought down and then remodeled again. So Lagosians, get ready.
Because they are renovating Carter Bridge. More Nigerians will aspire to go to Qatar while they are doing that.
Anyway, so this is what you see there on the screen. The long traffic. Now, people missing their flights.
This is typical, and we mentioned it yesterday, Joe. You want to get a passport, there's nothing you can do that has to do with government service delivery that you will not go through hardship. And this is imagine, people lost millions of naira because they couldn't get to the airport. How do you come up with a system this revolutionary without even troubleshooting, without doing mock exercises, without having a hybrid? Give people options first, cash or card, before you go full throttle. Oh, you're just going to stop it. I mean, it's an embarrassment to the government.
Now,
and this is not the first time we're seeing policy somersault.
Yes.
It's almost like a thing for
I was
this
going to add that, I mean, I'm glad that you mentioned that. It's not the first time. It's a typical, it's a dance that happens in Nigeria. They think about an idea and they think it's going to be effective, and then they roll it out and find out that the impact is grave, or it's not the most convenient impact. Then they come back and retract it and pause for a bit or bring another alternative. So it's the same thing with, I remember when Leila Johnson Salami had asked Dave Umahi that, did you do an impact assessment? Where is the impact assessment report you promised? Before you decided to go ahead with the coastal highway.
And he got angry.
He got very angry. Then he promised that he was going to make it available. And
Till today.
Till today, I don't think that we saw that impact assessment report.
Maybe we should ask Tracy.
Government needs to wow. Tracy.
So
maybe we should ask Tracinta for the impact assessment.
Wow. But we say this to say that our government needs to understand that they must prioritize an impact assessment before they roll out policies. You don't jeopardize the lives of Nigerians or the quality. Imagine people, there's so many things that can go wrong. Somebody needs to get to the airport for a medical emergency. Somebody has an appointment, that is a business appointment that they've been chasing. Maybe they've been planning this meeting for months, and this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that has just been missed. The collateral damage is too much.
Imagine you've taken money from clients. You have to do an MC job, and because the fan and aviation minister and aerospace
I will ask for damages.
Decided
they must pay me damages.
I mean, you ease people into that system.
So our goal should be to think of how to make things may not be great, but the goal of the government should not be to worsen the quality of life and the process of achieving things. Something as basic, like Benga said, as basic as getting your passport should not be rocket science, for example. Anything that involves government and citizens interaction, it almost feels like you have to pray.
Say what? It's a battle.
As I'm going today, let me get my NIN. Let them not tell me that network is down. God, please, as I go today, we pray over the most ridiculous things that can be sorted just by efficiency, just by proper putting the right people, the square pegs in square holes or round pegs in round holes, and just ensuring that actions have consequences the same way inactions also have consequences. That's just, my take on this as well.
Well, the minister, I don't know if we have the footage, but
yeah, we have.
Let's just take a look at it where he spoke, because he got the directive from the president who said scrap it, and there are more stories as well to that why that was also done. But let's take a look.
The present cashless system we introduced at our toll gates across the country in order to eliminate corruption and optimize revenue for the federal government. You recall that this practice had gone on for more than 50 years, where we collect cash, where the operators of the toll gates, Federal Airport Authority, they collect cash from motorists at the points of collection across the country, mostly the toll gates, and other points like the parking lots and all of that. However, with the introduction of the cashless system less than a week ago, it's created a lot of gridlock across the country. Mr. President was very concerned about the welfare of Nigerians and the fact that most Nigerians were losing their flights, missing their flights. And so Mr. President, out of empathy, directed today that we should suspend the present system because it creates a lot of gridlock, and Nigerians are suffering as a result of it. Mr. President therefore directed me that we should go back to the drawing board. We should go back to status quo, suspend the present system whereby people will have to pay through the various means we have introduced at the various gates across the country, and then go and perfect the system properly. In fact, the President directed me that this should not take too long. It should not take too long, and I should get back to him on this issue.
There you have it, Mr. Festus Keyamo, Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Management, there talking about the need to halt the exercise following the directive of Mr. President. And he said it's in tune with modern day service delivery, where they're trying to block the revenue leakages and ensure they get more revenue for the government. But you can see how much traffic is backed up as a result of this policy. And seriously, I mean, it might be very embarrassing for the government knowing that they've reversed so many policies for Mr. President to make that decision. But I mean, kudos
on the flip
to him.
side, the flip side, I would say that I also want to, while after flogging them for not doing impact assessment, I also applaud them for listening. Because the truth is, there could have been a probability of them saying, it is what it is, people will adjust and they will go ahead. But they saw that it was causing grave inconvenience to Nigerians, and they listened and did what they should have done. Better late than never, Let's not.
Olive. Why
be like saying,
what is part of the reason why they listened? Have you asked?
No, because there has been pressure from
it has affected many VIPs.
Thank you, Benga. Now you are talking.
It has affected, because let's play that video. I want to show you the geography of that area and what happens around there.
It has affected.
If you look at the Air Force bases down there, and if you come for the terminal to the ExecuJet private jet terminal, it's on the right side of this road. But you can't even get to your private. So if all the VIPs that are going to that private jet terminal will have to pass through this traffic.
They have to.
Before they get there. And I'm sure they've been making phone calls. Like, what sort of nonsense is this?
Thank you.
I don't think it was done.
So why we want to
they're so altruistic.
Exactly. Why we want to, I mean, a media house was able to capture a white man who used an Okada just to navigate his way through
No,
and
it wasn't even
escape
there. I
that
think it was
traffic.
just a random
And I
person
believe that
that
was in Abuja.
Oh, the foreigner that. Yeah, that was. in
It
Abuja.
was AIT
Okay,
video.
okay.
But our point is, why? We understand that the reason is, yes, they listen, but the reason is because it has affected a huge number of VIPs as well. But I just want to say this to those at the top. I always say this, if Nigeria were a company, there's nothing wrong in test driving. Benga, you've said it all, and I agree with you. Test it. Do the cashless and the cash. Slowly, there's something they call migration in telecom.
Yeah, so
In
you
telco.
integrate them
You
slowly.
integrate and then you migrate. Oh, we've migrated you to this, or we've moved to this. You can't just come and just flip it around because you say you need to generate income for the
And are
federal
they
government.
even the design of the tolls? They're not the same. You know, traffic, you're going to have to slow down. You have not built a bigger and freer
roads and tolls
that will
exactly.
make, so if you're on the tap and go lane in Malaysia, in other Western countries, you always see that it's clearly written. So before you even approach the toll,
You already know it's tap
where,
and
if
go.
you're going left
Or
or
you're going
right.
right, yeah.
But here there was no sensitization, nothing. You just said, where would you get e-tag from? The e-tag should be sold in major supermarkets. You should be able to load them like the
Oyster card,
like
for
the
example.
Oyster or Cowrie card for people that use the train services in Lagos. You need to prepare before this. And these are
It takes
men
time.
we respect and we look up to. I mean, some people look up to them. You think they would know better because they travel a lot. Me, I don't look up to them. Let me not lie. That's why I said.
Honestly, we
some
were able to
people look up
compare,
them.
like now that you're talking
It's
about
not
traveling
easy.
alone.
So you can't just
It's
wake
pathetic.
up and make a knee-jerk decision like that.
pathetic.
"Hey, we're going cashless. Deal with it."
Benga, the seamlessness of traveling abroad it blows my mind, right? It's not like they're intentionally trying to make life difficult for you. Things like sometimes you don't even need to come in contact with any human being. You just go, I've done my payments, I have used my phone tap.
in the world,
pass.
you will not even think it's the busiest airport in the world because of how seamless service delivery is. Dubai, Heathrow, everywhere you go.
Very
what's
easy.
the volume of
Even Qatar,
traffic here?
You
But
know,
we'll
very
just be-
easy. Just you tap, you go. Unless there's an issue with your boarding pass on your phone, then you have to go see someone
And it
else.
doesn't mean that because there's an issue with your boarding pass or something,
That they will not
have
put you
1,000
outside and
people.
one.
No, 1,000 people will be
Yes.
queuing behind you.
No. So, like, it literally, the thing is moving. When you travel abroad and you come to traveling in Nigeria, your heart will just break for nothing. But anyway, we will.
Let's see
Our
what Nigerians are
responsibilities. Okay, yeah. Let's take what they're saying.
Let's see what
X about
Nigerians are
this,
saying. I
then
mean,
we'll come to share our-
we received the shock. Let's see if Nigerians do receive it as well. Okay, this is
Okay, we can skip
We
this
can skip
because
it.
we
Yeah,
spoke
skip
on
it.
video
We've
already.
taken the video already. We've seen what he
Let's
said.
get
It was
reactions.
directed by the president, like he said, by the way. The president said, no, you can't do that. He says, it is unfortunate that until the president intervened, you couldn't detect that it wasn't working. Good question. Good question. You couldn't detect until the president intervened. Bayo says, what happens to the money already in the wallet through Paystack? People have already paid. So what happens to their money? It obviously shows lack of capacity to comprehend. This is a leadership flaw from you. You didn't have to wait for the president to take that initiative.
It's true.
This policy should have been implemented in phases. Lagos, Nigeria, Abuja, you know, wherever you're watching us from, thank you for watching and thank you for staying with us. It's been one very interesting hour for us here, breaking down some of the major stories on Wake Up Conversations, no doubt. But let's bring to you our headlines for today on Breakfast Central. Our big stories for today, we'll be looking into it. NNPP urges INEC to fix its image before faulting party lawsuits. We'll look at the IGP, Mr. Tunji Disu, the one and only, highly respected, who inaugurates a State Police Implementation Committee. A good one to look into. And then State of the Nation. We'll talk about all of these things we've talked about back and forth, but there are many more that you need to know about. And reps on renewable energy, the conversation we're going to have, all here. Don't forget the front pages of the newspapers will be up for 9 a.m. You can call in, so get your fingers itchy. Keep watching. Stay with us.
Nigeria's Inspector-General of Police, Tunji Disu, has inaugurated an 8-member committee to drive the implementation of state police. This marks a significant step toward decentralizing policing in Nigeria, a move many have long debated as crucial for tackling insecurity. The committee, chaired by Professor Olu Ogunsakin, is tasked with crafting the framework for state policing.
Nigerians have raised concerns about accountability, political interference, and whether state police will truly strengthen internal security and deepen divisions.
On state police, we are inaugurating today has a critical responsibility. Your work will help shape the framework through which state policing may operate in Nigeria in a manner that strengthens rather than fragments our national security system. In carrying out this assignment, your deliberations must be guided by professionalism, objectivity, and a clear appreciation of the unique complexity of policing in a diverse nation like our own. Among other responsibilities, the committee is expected to review existing police models within and outside Nigeria, assess community security needs, and emerging risks amongst the country.
This morning on Breakfast Central to help us unpack what this means for Nigeria's security architecture as former Commissioner of Police in Lagos State, Mr. Fatai Owoseni. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Owoseni, and thanks for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central.
Good morning to everyone at the studio.
Now, Mr. Owoseni, you served at the highest level of policing in Lagos State. You were a commissioner. From your experience in the Nigerian police force, does Nigeria's current federal police structure adequately address localized security challenges? Are you for state policing?
Before I will answer that question, let me give you her background. It would appear one is always repeating himself. It's a nation that don't apply institutional memory, which is a key principle of best practices. This issue is not the first time that it's coming up. Aside the 1979 and 1999 constitutions, the 1954, 1960, and 1963 constitutions provided for a multiple level, policing structure. And of course, it went up to that till 1957, when the minority and the oppressed community came up to say that the kind of policing system we're using wasn't desirable. And that brought about the 1957 Link Commission to look at the structure that we're going to apply. It went like that up till 1930. And of course, even in the Second Republic, it also came up where it was decided that certain ranks of officers up to deputy superintendent of police should go back to their states. And, we've been experimenting this. If we have been doing this pre-colonial times up till the First Republic, and now, what lessons have we learned? We are a nation that don't apply lessons learned. But be as it may, the thing is that the structure of the police is not independent of the conflicting political and economic interaction of the society. What makes police function is democracy and rule of law. These are necessary preconditions for effectiveness and accountability. And of course, when we're talking of state police or state policing, there are two different things. State police is different from state policing. Are we talking about the elements that would perform, that will discharge the obligations, the functions of the police? Or are we talking of who controls the police, who has command and control? The thing is also that the command of the police should be situated within the operational person. And while we're having this back and forth, there were examples before. In the Second Republic, we had a situation where a governor of a state, specifically in Anambra State, directed the police commissioner, Bishop Eyitene, to deploy policemen, additional policemen, to the government house and attach the list of the policemen to be deployed. And the thing went up to the Supreme Court, where it was said that, look, you can't have the authority over the police, but when it comes to operational command, give it to the professional. If you see that, if you are saying that, oh, you needed more security in the government house, leave the commissioner of police to do a threat analysis, determine the number of policemen to be posted, not for you as a governor to say that I want additional policemen and I want the policemen to come from my ethnic group, and you attach the list. So this is why we have been having this. So what am I saying is that the most important thing is that we must know why we even want this structure to be changed. But be as it may, the president has voiced it out that it is an idea that the time has come. And if it is an idea that the time has come, let us look at all these past records. How do we situate it? Have we overcome those challenges that gave rise to having a centralized policing system? And one of the issues they will be looking at, if you have the state police, are you going to recruit only the indigents of the state? Or you are going to say residents of the state? These things matter. It's an idea that the time has come. The president has voiced it out. The Inspector-General of Police has no choice other than to do what he did yesterday. And of course, it is a commendable move to say, okay, we are putting these people together who have the experience. The Professor Ogunshaki that is chairing the thing, is part of his first contact with our policing system is me when I was in the Police Service Commission. He came from on a duty with the DFID on Justice for All program. So he has extensive background and experience, and the police officers that joined him. So the IG has read out, what their mandates should be. So let them come up with their mandates. They will marry it with whatever the National Assembly is going to do. And let's look at how the framework is going to be. No one can say, oh, whether you support or you don't support. Once the president, as the chairman of the police council, because the police council administer the police, not command of the police, but administration of the police. And the police council is made up of all the governors of the federating states and the chairman police service commission. So once the chairman of the police council has said, oh, this is the agitation, this is what Nigerians want, let us go ahead. He has, taken the right steps. He has put up the committee. They will come up with whatever, marry it with whatever the National Assembly is going to do to put into our constitution. But I must also say that it is possible to have all these things without give it a try, without even amending the Constitution. The Police Act is a product of the Constitution. In the Police Act, you have a situation where even if your station wants to have its own police, you can't have it. That is what is called supernumerary police. If your station decides to say they want to have their own police now, they will apply, they will have supernumerary police. Supernumerary police have the same powers with the police, except for the kind of weapon they carry. And when people talk of that as well, in terms of weapon, modern policing is not just about carrying, rifles everywhere. There are gadgets, there are technology to be used. So our law has already provided. That is why all the oil companies, you see police there, they are supernumerary police, and they are controlled by the chief executive of those companies. So if your station decides to have the police today, they will apply, they will have supernumerary police who has the power of policing, but within your entity. And that is exactly what they're talking about this state police thing. But, we'll continue to discuss it. Police will continue to remain topical. But the basic line, as General Aguirre said, as head of state, when they were setting up, inaugurating the 1957 Willing Commission, is that the police is a critical institution which should not be subjected to the power of one person and made, to get involved in politics. The police, whoever that is there, should remember that the obligation is to the constitution of this country and is to the people of Nigeria. That is when police can be made accountable. When your democracy is strong and the rule of law is strong, you would have, an effective and accountable police.
Okay, I mean, you said you've broken it down with a whole lot of points here. I don't know if we'll be able to dissect them all. So many layers to look into, from the weapons down to the states. You mentioned the rule of law, which inadvertently forms the major problem. And that problem, I call it a problem because that's where the fear comes in. Nigerians are worried that when you introduce state police, the police will become tools in the hands of especially the politicians, as already we can see what's going on, how the police are tied to each of them, how they carry out things that, like you also mentioned, are not within the rules of the law. So how valid are these fears, especially coming from Nigerians, and what safeguards must be put in place? I'm hoping that maybe in some time, my spirit tells me that you may also be called to also be part of this committee if care is not taken. But it would be nice to hear your thoughts on how valid these fears are from Nigerians.
They are genuine fears. And like I said, these fears have been expressed pre-colonial times that gave birth to that 1957 Willing Commission, that also gave birth to the Police Council and the Police Service Commission. And when that was discussed, the main point is that if you have a police council, that you have all the governors of the federating state as members, that the governors are representative enough for each of their states, and they have the mandate of the people in their state. So they are bringing it forth. If the police council had functioned the way it was envisaged, I keep on saying it, we must be able to say some truth. If you have a police council that should administer the police, and it is only when an Inspector-General of Police is going to be appointed that the meeting is convened, then that means that council is not functioning. The council should meet regularly. Maybe they will set it up. It's a constitution. It's one of the most powerful organs set up by the Constitution. They should probably meet periodically, maybe quarterly, maybe biannually, or something like that, to discuss some of these issues. Because the governor can even write, if you have a police council properly set up, to say that this insecurity in my state, President, I want it to be in the agenda. We want to discuss it. And once it functions properly, you'll be able to, run the police properly. Because if you don't run it properly, it will be difficult to administer the police. And that is why also it is put in the Constitution. It's a constitutional matter that police commissioners are not posted to any state by the Inspector-General of Police. It is the Police Service Commission that the Police Council and the law delegated that to. So that is to say that if you are posting a commissioner of police to any state for state commands, you should have the input of the governor of that state. And it's a constitutional thing. It is not anything that is like an administrative thing. The Constitution made it clear. So it's only the Police Service Commission, that derive that power from the Constitution that posts. Inspector-General of Police don't post commissioner to the state. So these are safeguards. The law has provided safeguards. Unfortunately for us in this country, we have so many laws that have been made redundant. So, and when you don't, run your country applying extant rules, extant laws and regulations, what you will have is chaos. and all these aberrations and absurdity we're having. So the agitations of the people are genuine, and the only way we can, put a safeguard, like I've said before, is that democracy and rule of law are necessary preconditions for having an effective police and accountable police. So even if you have the state police and rule of law is not really granted, you are wasting your time. So if you have a state police and whoever that is going to be in control in the state will choose between what court order or judgment will be obeyed and which one will not be obeyed, we will continue to have this agitation. And I fear if we still not go back to say, let us return back to centralized police. Models have been cited. The first thing people will say is United States of America. Our federalism is different. A federalism that is put up through centrifugal consideration is different from the federalism that is put up through centripetal consideration. So that is why we are different. And in the United States of America, it's not just about state police. They have over 1,000 or 2,000 law enforcement agencies that are integrated. What United States operates is all society policing. So in effect, if you have a state police and you don't also apply all those safeguards that everyone should be involved, we are just joking.
Okay, I mean, you've mentioned a number of things. You've made reference to the US and what's happening, the kind of system they run with policing. Let's talk about, you had asked a question, and I'm glad that you've made certain suggestions on the safeguards. You've also established that the Constitution already provides safeguards, even though your concerns are with regards to how well or how ready people are to obey what the court says, how we really are subject to the rule of law. But you had asked the question earlier that when it comes to state policing, how is that going to run? Are we going to only recruit indigents? I want you to please, shed further light on that and your own recommendation and how that will work.
You see, why I mentioned that is just like the minorities came up in 1957. If you have a state police, let me take my state or your state as an example now. And you have all members of that police to be only indigenes of your state. How then would you say your state police is performing? Because you have different ethnic groups, different tribal groups, different religions in all your state. So you have to balance it. For example, without prejudice, we have an Amotekun now, and in Amotekun, it's mainly indigenes that are recruited. And I used to say, if you have only indigenes, there are some people that have lived in this Ibadan before I was born, third, fourth generation that have been in Ibadan. And they know the area where they live more than some people that are, indigenes of Ibadan. So where you have this structure put in place and you don't, put up a proper framework, are we indigenizing our police? And when I talk of indigenization, are we saying indigenous state police? So if you do that, the minority tribes that live in Oyo State will kick to say we don't support this. And that is why the police is a delicate institution. That is why we always say that the police that we join, you don't affiliate with any tribe at all. The police don't do affiliation. In the days that we were in the police, we will not get to the office of the DPO and identify him first as probably an Ibadan man or your man. But sadly, you have a police now where even up to the rank of commissioner and junior ranks, they will go and take the title from their community and they will put the picture in their office. So if I'm the Inspector-General or the chief police officer for Oyo State now, and I display the picture of how I'm a chief in Ibadan, if Ibadan people are fighting with Ogbomoso or Oyo people or Shaki people, the first thing that will come to their mind is that, oh, we got to his office, and the first picture we saw is him being, given the title of Magaji in Ibadan or whatever. So we will continue to have this agitation that will be coming up. So that is where the framework, and that is the framework is important, and that is why the step took by IG yesterday is also important, because I would believe that the committee that is set up will look at all this to come with a proper framework that will not make us to go back and say, oh, all these agitations we are doing is not going to work for us. So that is what I meant by that.
Now, Mr. Owasheni, one of the biggest elephant in the room is funding, because that's been the bane of the current Nigerian police force in its present structure. How is that going to work out, since it's a major concern? States already struggle to pay salaries of civil servants, and how realistic is it for them to provide a police force and sustain a professional one at that? And also the chain of command, where does the IG come in, and all the other complicities? But let's take it one at a time. Let's talk about funding.
You see, at the moment, when you want to talk of funding, policing is one of the most expensive venture. No one, set of body of institution can fund the police. At the moment, most of the state governors are doing, fantastically well when it comes to funding. I could say that in your state now. I got here as Special Advisor on Security in 2019. The kind of investment that the state as a state has put into funding the police, I don't think it's up to what the federal government has actually given to the police in the state. It is the state that bought vehicles, patrol vehicles, for all the divisional police officers, the police officers, and the area commands, including the patrol vehicles. At the moment, the most of the commissioners of police, which is very sad, for the past 3-4 years, don't even have an official, operational car that is attached to their office. It's the states that provide for that. But in order to check this, there was a committee that was set up at the time on the revamping the police, the Damadami committee. There was a Pari Osayande committee. All these things were addressed there, and that was why the idea of the model of having a police trust fund came up. Lagos State pioneered that, and everyone knows that Lagos State Security Trust Fund has done fantastically well. Oyo State was the second one to set it up. So it is to address that funding thing. But how well is the police trust fund at the national level, operated? It's the way it is being operated now. It doesn't seem as if it is running the way it was envisaged. When that the committee, the Damadami committee, the Pari Osayande came up with the idea of a police trust fund, what was put there is that each of the state of the federation corporate bodies will contribute into a pot. If Oyo State contribute, say, 1 billion naira, that 1 billion naira should be spent on the infrastructure of the police in Oyo State. I'm not too sure that is why they are running it now. So there are some states that are viable, but at the same time, it is not until when this becomes operational that we know whether each of the states has the capacity. Some of the states may not have the capacity, but for the sake of everyone is mouthing it, we want state police, we want state police. All the states want state police now. How well they will be able to handle it, how well they will be able to fund it, still remain a question. It is not until when you try. Let us put our leg in the water first before we know whether it is cold or warm. or something like that. So it's going to be a challenge. But funding the police, what even makes the police in Nigeria different from the police elsewhere is the issue of how you provide for them. We know that the welfare of the police at the moment is more or less zero. The present government is trying to address that. When you see police in the UK and the US, you will see them looking heavy. What is making them looking heavy? The gadgets they pack on their body. Here, what you see is a scarecrow. So, I'm sorry to use that language. So the essential things are not provided, and it's because of this funding challenge. I was at your station, and I mentioned it. If you have a police station where if you go there as a complainant, it is the IPO or the DPO that will go and think in his head, how do I get the diary with which I will write this complaint? How do I get the statement form that will give this complainant? If you leave that to the investigating police officer or the DCO or the IPO or the DPO, how will the police perform? If you have gone to a police station to report, to say that something is happening, you are in Ikeja, something is happening in, say, Maryland, there is no vehicle to move them there. Unlike in some other places, the vehicles are there, Boku. If you make any complaints in some of those countries, you will see the number of vehicles that will come there. Here, a policeman will be charged a constable to arrest 40 persons. In some other countries, it is 40 persons that will respond
we can only imagine, I mean, all of these challenges and instances, and we're looking to see how the current IGP will solve them. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Would have wanted to delve into the situation that's going on with insecurity in Nigeria. You were a former commissioner in Borno State and the likes, but I guess we'd have to invite you personally again, maybe to the studios this time, so we can have a more robust conversation. Thank you so much for your time, by the way, and we look forward to see what the IGP will do concerning state policing. Thanks once again.
Thank you.
Competence. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll look at more and you could say very interesting stories coming up next here on Breakfast Central. Stay with us. Welcome back. As Nigeria moves gradually toward the 2027 general elections, the country's political and economic landscape is becoming increasingly tense. The newly amended Electoral Act has placed the Independent National Electoral Commission at the center of national debate, with opposition parties and civil society groups questioning provisions and also not forgetting the provisions around electronic transmission of results and compressed election timelines. INEC chairman, responding to the institution's preparedness, has noted that 100% perfection should not be expected by Nigerians. Let's take a look.
As much as possible to give this country the best election. However, we may not be able to achieve 100% perfect election for now. But as far as electronic transmission of results is concerned, I said it before FCT Area Council that we have the capacity to transmit the results, and that we're going to transmit it.
At the same time, economic debates around the 2026 budget and new tax laws were highly controversial until they were eventually signed into the law, amidst concerns about unrealistic revenue base and the large portion of budget being used to repay debt rather than fund development. The power sector has also remained a major concern among citizens, even as the Aso Rock Presidential Villa explores alternative power solutions amid shrinking electricity supply nationwide. Join us this morning to discuss the state of the nation is Professor of Strategy and Development, Policy Analyst and Political Economics, Professor Anthony Killer. A warm welcome to you and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning.
Good morning. Good to be here. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Now let's start off with the Electoral Act amendment and INEC controversy. The amended Electoral Act sparked some controversy, though signed into law at record speed. Opposition law has asked lawmakers to get it back into the room and begin the amendment over again. The modification of provisions on real-time electronic transmission of results was a major bone of contention. From your perspective, would it guarantee, is that the silver bullet to guarantee free and fair elections if that clause mandatory is included in the Electoral Act, the mandatory transmission, electronic transmission of results?
Well, it's a bit, normally people say it's neither here nor there. In this case, I think it's a bit here, it's a bit there. I do not believe there will be a silver bullet that will guarantee everything, but I believe it will go a long way. What people want are three things, credibility, certainty, and transparency. They're three similar things, but they're not the same. And when you put them together, you get a strong institution. Credibility, certainty, and transparency. Transmission does that, just the same way you walk into to the store of an unknown stranger and you do your transfer immediately and they get the money. That's what people are imagining in their mind. INEC needs to work towards that. Let me say that it is legitimate for the opposition to oppose and to try to find a compromise and request that is amended. But, shame, shame, shame on all our governors and all our legislators and all those people who, for some reason, they appear so disconnected to the reality of Nigeria that anyone seen to be against anything digital at this age is conceived as an archaic, unproductive and unprogressive element, like an enemy of progress, because too many things we do in the world is digital. Even love is getting to become a digital affair at the moment, hence the too many. So, for you to be against that, there's something wrong with you. You shouldn't say we're not ready. You shouldn't say some people will not be able to participate. What you should be saying is, let us find a way to make sure everybody can participate. So I would like to put that on record.
All right, now let's move to another angle and let's talk about timelines. Now, this law has reduced election preparation timelines, and there have been arguments. The critics have argued that this will favor the ruling party. Let's look at the practicality of it. How will a shorter notice period affect smaller parties and those who are just coming into the scene ahead of the 2027 elections?
Well, it affects them because, objectively they're new. They're just trying to get together. The major opposition party, if not the only opposition party, is the ADC. One has to say fully, African Democratic Congress. So you don't confuse it with APC. I don't even know why they have to choose a name so similar. I predict people mixing up this name as we go ahead to election when we start juxtaposing them. The ADC is a new party, it's a coalition of factions of different parties. They're just getting themselves together, so they need time. So objectively, the ruling party, which is the most consolidated, although they're having their own troubles now, as I predicted a few months ago that they will have it when Congress comes. They'll be getting together now, but they are there, so it will favor them. This is a bit like you saying that a student who has attended class every day, who has been in that school, from the beginning of the time will have an advantage over the new students. Of course they're going to have a new advantage. The point is it designed to game the opposition, to benefit the ruling party at the expense of the opposition? That is a true question. Opposition say yes. I do not see real proof, but clearly it benefits them because they're consolidated. My view is that the opposition should just roll up their sleeves, and walk against time. We're not the one who told them not to have a party before now. Now that they have a party, it is their duty to just, work very hard and make things happen. But there are two things I want to say about INEC in particular, regardless this timetable. I challenge the process that INEC has used to announce this timetable. And I think this is the problem we have. Even the opposition, the chairman, the secretary, all of them, shame on them. They don't get it. You see, the things they should be protesting should be that the process that was used. Instead of INEC turning itself to an announcer that say this is the date we're going to do the election, what INEC ought to be doing is to call all the parties into a room and work out the date together. They don't have to be like a consensus, but at least if they're informed and they have input in choosing that date, we will not have political parties against INEC. And to my colleague, the chairman INEC, I laugh when he says we might not get 100% result to our desire. You know, I cannot, it would be intellectually dishonest of me if I did not point out at him that will he be getting 100% of his salary though? Let's move on.
Wow. I mean, it obvious. That was going to be my next question to you, but I think you took the word out of my mouth. I was going to ask what you make of your colleague, Professor Joash Amokpito's statement that he cannot guarantee 100% at the elections. But let me switch
let
quickly.
us take a bit of the percentage he can guarantee from his pay.
Okay. All right. But let me ask, since you've answered that, I want to ask, 873 billion naira was requested by INEC, of course, led by its chairman. And the House is considering adding 30 billion naira to that amount, stating clearly that maybe there was an oversight. They've seen that more money is needed to, handle the administrative aspect of it, the running around for the election. What do you make of this sum? A huge sum, like times 3 of what we had used in 2023, over 900 billion, getting into 1 trillion naira for an election. And yet the INEC boss says, I can't guarantee 100%, fairness or smooth running, rather, of the election. What do you make of that?
3 things I'm going to say about that. Number 1 is that, generally speaking, Nigerian elections are the most expensive in the world. Specifically speaking, when you juxtapose the total amount spent to per capita income, to earnings of individual in the country, and you realize that it is the most expensive in the whole world. You think what people earn and what we're spending on election. The problem is that the election has to hold, otherwise we'll not be in a democracy anymore. For the amount they want to spend, if I had my way, say I was a kind of Ayatollah, although it's a bit dangerous to be an Ayatollah now. If I was like a pope or a bishop or something, I would call all of them, if I had the authority, and beg them to say, please, let's not do election. Let this one stay there for 2 years, and another people stay there for another 2 years, and let us use that money for health, security, and education. And let's just leave it. Let's just beg them to say, look, you're all friends. Agree between yourselves. Save us this money. But, that cannot be done, unfortunately. But honestly, it seems like a joking, but that's my instinct when I see that money. I believe we should throw out a kind of competition to product managers, supply chain experts, intellectuals in the country, and say, can you design for us an electoral process that will give us 100% and cost less?
Okay, so can we design an election that will cost less? And that's one of the arguments that we've seen against that. The fact that so far we've not really seen a budget implementation report regarding the election, one that one can argue and say that the monies disbursed have been rightfully allocated. And now we're getting a 30 billion naira extra request by the Senate Committee on Electoral Reforms.
And also, if I may chip in here, after spending all those billions, Nigerians also wonder the quality, because the aim of elections is to elect representatives. They say the quality of their representation is poor and it doesn't reflect in their lives. It doesn't change their lives. So maybe we need to start looking at the personnel, the pool of leaders where we select from, improving on that,
right.
And also the electoral process.
I think we need to relook everything. But there's one thing we must say. One thing, maybe it's political correctness, I don't know why. One thing we ought to be looking at that we're not looking at is the fact that part of the reasons why elections are so expensive in terms of money, in terms of time, and in terms of anxiety is because too many of the people contesting for elections are potential criminals. They have what you call in law animus delinquens. How can you, we talk about violence, we talk about vote buying, vote selling, vote stealing, as if it's one kind of accident. It is some individuals, men like you and I, and women, no, let's not leave out women. They tend to leave out women when it's a bad thing. Men and women like you and I who get together to design these kind of things. So somehow, my own idea of an chairman should be a man or woman who comes out thinking that I'm dealing with criminals. I'm dealing with people who can plan and perpetuate violence. I'm dealing with people who have no qualms to buy and sell votes.
And from your estimation, Is Mr. Joash Amunkuton, is he that man?
Oh, well, we shouldn't judge him until after he does. I haven't seen his mind. I see that he has changed his wardrobe, but I don't know if how that is going to affect his work. It's looking more like them. But, you know, it doesn't have to be one man. It's an institutional thing that has to be said out there. That has to be. Obviously, if it was me, you would know I think that already. He hasn't said that in the past. I am saying it now so that they will not be tempted to choose me. They will know what I think about them.
I want to go back to talk about something that our guest had said. We had Festus Okoye join us on the show last week, and he had said that even the Electoral Act's pre-amendment, that as it is or as it was, it could have guaranteed or can still guarantee us decent elections. And it's not really about the laws or the renewal of same, but that it's more about the people, that the people are the ones who would ensure that we have free, fair, credible elections delivered to us. Do you agree with that?
Yes, but when you say people, let's be clear, it's politicians, not the citizens. You know, because these people talk, it's a kind of gaslighting. When we say we're all guilty, no, we're not all guilty. A few of us who are the politicians are the ones guilty. And yes, he's right. I agree with him, but except, you know, just to qualify. Look, in another life, in another place, I've contested elections a few decades ago in England. And guess what? Well, I didn't win, by the way. Guess what? It was just pencil and paper that they used, and nobody contested it. It was very clear. You saw yourself what happened. So yes, it is the people, but better still, it is the criminals among us that are costing us so much stress and so much money. And until we're able to look at them and say, this is the reality, I suspect we're not going to get out of it, because there is no process that cannot be manipulated. That is just the truth of the matter. The nearest is proper banking. Maybe we should, I don't want my colleagues to be annoyed with me, but maybe instead of professors, we should get bankers to manage these things for us. Because at least they secure money and fraud is rare among them. Maybe we should look at that process they're using. Or get newscasters to lead it so that it can be on time. I always tell people, have you noticed that news is never late? You know, we need to look at sectors of the society.
Event planners, maybe.
Yes, we need, you know, reliability from bankers, punctuality from newscasters. I think we need to just shop around and put the dream team together.
Okay. I mean, looking at the dream team and who would put together, I'd like us to just move a little bit away from the elections. Let's look at the economy now. I don't know if you're aware of the recent budget defense that has been taking place in the Assembly. We've seen ministers who have come, we've seen agencies, government parastatals, and yet they're not able to defend their budgets. The recent one was that of the Ministry of Finance, which of course has led to the appointment of the chairman of the fiscal, reforms, economic reforms. I'm talking about Mr. Taiwo. Yes.
That's what that's led. Okay.
if we look at that ministry, that's just one. That's just one. We have other ministries who appeared, even that of FAN, 3 days ago, they couldn't defend how much they've made, where they spent the monies on. And then you have ministers who have come to say, listen, for 2024, 2025, we only got 36 million out of 200 and something billion that was budgeted, especially for the healthcare sector. What do you make of this whole challenge or problems that the ministries and parastatals are facing right now? And how does that impact heavily on the budget and the tax policy?
Well, what do I make of it? That we have a serious leadership deficit problem. We're not in a good place when it comes to leadership. Actually, we're in a very bad place. Because there's no private organization or society, well, maybe some societies, but generally, you know, well-structured organizations, societies that have this kind of problem. You only find this kind of problem in government. And this tells you that instead of giving government and politics so much power, we need to be thinking of reducing it. Because quite frankly, they are inherently incapable, let alone incompetent. You see, let alone dishonest or corrupt. We like to talk about corruption in Nigeria, but I keep saying, let us talk about competence. These people are incompetent. Even in stealing, they're not competent even in their stealing. You know, even in, you know, playing with budget, they're not even competent enough to do that. That's a big issue. So to that extent, there's a leadership problem. There is a wider problem for the society, because if budgets are not implemented, and I want our viewers to think about this, regardless of who they vote for, who they intend to vote for, to vote for who have voted for. You look at it this way, the whole point of budget is that the promises of leaders and administrators or governors or presidents is said, but it's not done. For these things to happen, budgets need to be implemented. Contractors, suppliers, project people are stuck because these budgets are not implemented. You know, we're not looking at the gravity and the consequence of things in details. If we did, we'll see how severe these things are. You know, and you know, the problem also is that because we live more on favor and privileges than merit and fairness, people don't speak out. As a consultant, I know people who are affected by this unimplemented budget, but they cannot speak out, because if they speak against it, I've advised them to do, they're afraid that there will be reprisal against them. You know, they won't get future jobs. So you just take it on the chin and keep quiet. And that's a wrong system. So to your questions, I think the consequences are real, they're severe. They're economical, they're social, and they're emotional. And it's also reputational. You look at a country where that is not happening. Why would you, as a foreign investor, want to go and invest there? Why you want to partner with them? And it's also a political thing, a leadership issue. It smacks of a very huge leadership deficit, qualitative leadership deficit, that I think we need to look at seriously.
Okay, still talking about the economy, let's talk about the quality of life of Nigerians. Earlier today, when we started the show, we played a video of Reno Omokri in support of the City Boy movement, highlighting the many ways in which Nigeria is better today than it was 10 years ago. He spoke to the state of insecurity, stating that, in fact, we should probably get the video ready to play. He spoke to the state of insecurity and that the Niger Delta militants back in the day, they affected hugely our oil production. He spoke to Boko Haram taking over territories back in the day. He also spoke about fuel scarcity and that in this current administration, people are no longer sleeping in petrol, and talked about our GDP growth. If we have the video ready, if my producers have the video, we will play it, but I don't know if you've seen it. Let's get your reaction. Do you think that the quality of life of Nigerians today is better than it was?
I think the gentleman you mentioned, and I speak to different audiences, you know, juxtaposing all this is a bit embarrassing, but it's okay. My thinking is this: may we not have the kind of progress that needs explanation? If you're feeling good, it needs to be told. This kind of well-being that requires explanation is a bit of a sore well-being. Let me just give students of history a reminder, and those who have a memory to remind it. There was a governor in my state of Lagos, Governor Latif Jakonde. When he was governor, when things were better, you didn't need anybody to explain it to you. You walked across the road and you saw the roads were being repaired. You saw schools built in months. You saw housing. You saw people in your neighborhood becoming mini contractors, doing jobs. That is progress. It doesn't need explanation. It's right in front of your face. But, you know, fair enough. Maybe we miss it. Maybe I talk to people like you and I miss those things. I don't know. But I'm sure Nigerians don't need to be reminded. They don't need to be informed of what has been good. If they're involved in it, if thanks to a policy you are benefiting, you will not be told before you praise it. But, you know, it's all good. I guess it's all politics. Anybody can say anything when it comes to partisan politics.
Okay, Professor Anthony Killer, we can't discuss the state of the nation and speak to you for a few minutes. We haven't even touched on power, insecurity. We have so much more to unpack. But just hold on for a bit. Let's pay some bills and then we'll be back to continue this conversation. You're welcome back to Breakfast Central, and this is News Central. We are currently discussing the state of the nation with Professor Anthony Killer. We talked on electoral reforms and other issues. It's now time for us to move into other areas that we need to unpack. I'd like to kick off this next round with Nigeria's power crisis. The presidential villa is set to move off the national grid and be fully independent of it, as they've invested a lot of billions in a solar project, while Nigerians, many Nigerians struggle with electricity shortages. Just today, we spoke about news of the Premier University College Hospital, UCH, in Ibadan, where patients, doctors are performing procedures with phone torches. The corridors are not lit. It's simply in a mess. And if you look at where UCH used to be, premier institution, it was the crown jewel of Nigeria's medical institutions, to the sorry state it is today. And we also talk about industrialization. No nation can industrialize with no electricity, at the back with generators. And that means we haven't made much progress in the last few years. My question to you is, Professor Anthony Killer, is what does this say about the state of Nigeria's power sector and the government's desire to fix things? Are we making progress at all? Because if you look at the person of the power, the Minister of Power, Mr. Adelabu, he walks around with a power bank, and that does not really inspire confidence in a lot of Nigerians.
Well, I think just because he's Minister of Power, you don't want his phone to run down. But he tells you the reality of things. I mean, you see, that's part of leadership deficits I talk about. He could have had the decency to charge it at home before coming out. It's just little things. And you see, it's very strange. Amazingly, leadership is what affects a lot of things we do. But very few people who lead us have actually been trained to be leaders, at least in a very didactic way. If you had the right training, you will know that people like yourself would notice him walking about with power bank, and it will occur to him to charge that thing very well at home and in the car and never in public view. They're just subtle things you learn in the leadership strategy class about perception and power management, which apparently he has not done. The same thing goes for the president. Let me be very clear. The president and the presidency for this kind of error. Look, the opposition make a big deal out of the fact that the president is leaving the grid or the villa is leaving the grid. It is not as bad as it appears. What is bad is the way it was presented. Rather than saying leaving the grid, which looks like a retreat or a surrender, they should have presented it saying that as part of efforts to increase the power system, we are doing this alternative. The way to get power is not only on the grid. You have solar, you have nuclear, you have XYZ options. You count everything and say, we're doing this to help things. And better still, when you do something for yourself, you also say, as we're doing it, we're creating a facility where 1 million homes. I think because Nigeria is 200 million, we should be talking in millions. I heard some people saying that they've empowered 5,000 people. And I say, thank you very much, good night. I could do that myself without government. So what they should be talking about is in millions, to say, as the villa is doing it, we're also putting in place facility to empower 1 million homes so that they can do that, so that we can relieve the burden and we can explore various options, cleaner energy. They could have, quote unquote, sold it better, which they did not do. And to the issue of the, University College Ibadan, it's very painful. You rightly call it a prime jewel. By the end of this transmission, I think maybe in a day or two, I'm going to be writing to New Central to see if we can do a joint effort to raise money for that hospital, because it is something worth preserving. I think whilst we criticize government, I also believe that those who have a face and a voice and some influence have a duty of intervention, to solve problem and to show those who ought to be doing it how things need to be done.
Okay, we're still speaking about power. I'm glad that my colleague raised that up. Part of the criticism about the struggle with Nigeria's power sector is the fact that we've put somebody who has a political ambition in the place of Minister of Power. There have been indications that he's vying for the governorship seat in Oyo State. And we already hear news from the grapevine that there are those who are already jostling to replace him as the minister. And, they are suggesting that President appoints a technocrat to fill that position. Do you think that that's also something to consider? And if this be true and he has to step down, What kind of person do you think will need to fill that seat? Because it feels like...
It's distracted.
Yes, he's distracted, one. Two, cycle in, cycle out. We still have those challenges with power. The president did say that if he's not able to provide us electricity, we shouldn't vote him. But it does not seem like there's been any government that has been able to successfully solve Nigeria's electricity crisis.
Well, when the president said that thing a couple of years ago, I said hi in Yoruba, not just a general AH. It was a very Yoruba ah. For him to have said that, I knew he was calling on trouble. But let us assume that he still has 2 years to get the light done, after which we'll draw the line, that's it. But for the minister, I criticize this people harshly, but actually it's my friend. This idea of planning who will replace him before he's gone. I know New Central like to be proactive and looking ahead, but should we not allow him to go before we start thinking of allows? I think say he's going before we start.
I'm actually, it's not even just New Central. There's an article on the Punch newspaper that was released yesterday, and it says, Oyo 2027, jostle for Adelabu's ministerial seat heats up. So it's not just us. There's already news about it.
And there's also another reason.
You have co-conspirators.
No.
You have co-conspirators.
It's not a conspiracy.
The minister himself, Mr. Adelabu, released WhatsApp interactions of him and a prophet in Oyo State that wanted to pray for his gubernatorial ambitions. The prophet said he required to buy, he needed 1,000 trumpets to help, to help with the prayer effort. So this was the minister putting this out.
Charged him less. I'll have charged him 1,000 books instead of trumpets, which will cost him less than that. Why did he? I don't know why these people don't come to me for prayers. Now, I think that if we stop taking away politicians, there'll be nobody left, because politicians only know politicians. They don't know a lot of technicals, and the ones they know they don't respect. We have to manage what we have. But I believe that, as you forced me to do so, my ideal minister for power will be somebody who understands that we need to diversify our supply in power, and we need to diversify our demand for power. The supply side requires that we fully explore various sources of energy to ensure we have power. That, for example, the most popular alternative is solar, because that's the handiwork. And the best way to do it is to increase the increase the supply so that demand can be lower, and you inject a lot of finance into it, especially credit facilities, consumer credit for power generation, so that you remove a lot of people off the grid and you remove a lot of people of using power. At the moment, there are gadgets. I know this because I'm involved in a solar energy company, Leeds. Well, I shouldn't, that looks like advert, but it's just a fact, And I've seen a lot of gadgets that they do that does not require electricity anymore. So if we increase those kind of gadgets and products, it will reduce our demand. Then on the other side, we'll increase our supply. So we need a new minister for power that comes with a team that understands the needs for diversification, and above all, that sees how essential energy is. The other thing the ideal minister should be doing is also to have a program for prioritizing area, like the UCL, like industrial place, or, like hospitals generally. Allow me to add universities and schools as well, since we're there. That's just, for my own constituency. But generally speaking, you should identify 6 priority areas where you deliberately ensure that they have constant power supply while you help the rest of the nation. So I think that has proven me not to evade your question.
Okay.
But I expect your vision for that.
Okay. Let's go back to the political climate, especially looking at what's going on right now. Too many political parties, some have been registered, newly registered, like we mentioned earlier, and during the first time we started asking questions. Right now, as we speak, the ADC seems to be one of the strongest oppositions, just one of them. The PDP, of course, I bet maybe you could say they're in shambles or they're struggling, whichever word that you could use to quantify what's going on with them. But several opposition parties claim that the current political environment is becoming increasingly restrictive, especially ahead of 2027. So based on what we're seeing, There's electoral reforms, political defections, legal battles. Do you think we're entering a phase that would make our democracy to become a one-party state? Or do you think that the oppositions do have enough strength and power behind them to be able to contest effectively?
Well, again, it's a bit here and a bit there. There are no many oppositions. The major opposition is ADC. You know, the PDP looks like children of a family that was once rich, and now the rich parent is dead, and they were not well trained to fend for themselves. They look like those children who are just in total disarray, and so you have to leave them. You can't expect them to take on the responsibility. They're gone. Labour looks like, like those actors who, they do one film and they can't repeat it. They're just gone. They're one-time hit thing. I wouldn't going to say one chance. I think that's the expression we use in Lagos. There's nothing substantial. ADC is the real thing. So the problem ADC has is trying to get itself together. I think not quick enough, but they have the potential, because very soon the country will have to choose, and those who do not want APC will have to go there. So that's the thing they have. The risk of a one-party state is a bit here and a bit there, because it's a question of character. I think that people who are leaving their parties to join the government, they do not earn a lot of respect from me. I think they're deficient in character in terms of their ability to stand strong as opposition, or the ability to have been able to look ahead. You can't say you are vehemently against Tinubu 2 years ago, and all of a sudden you all of a sudden love him. What he hasn't done anything particular to make mind-blowing things that you did not know about him. Whether you like or look Tinubu, there's nothing he has done in government that you cannot trace back to his tradition and his political view. The only thing perhaps is that things that he hasn't done yet that people are saying he ought to have done. But opposition, I think, mischievously and lazily cry that the government is trying to create a one-party state. I say to them, you have a burden of leadership to attract new people and to hold the one you have so that they do not, run away from you. But I do think there's a challenge, and I want to look at the president's question on this one. There is a challenge, also a burden of leadership on part of the president, the leadership of the APC, to ensure that the institute of opposition remains, because a democracy without opposition is not a strong democracy. And a victory against a non-existent opposition is not a good victory. Over 30% of the Nigerian governors, elected governors, over 30%, not 30, over 30, that's over 80%. Over 30 have either directly, openly, or indirectly lend their alliance to the party and the president himself. You see, I want to be very clear. I think it's legitimate for people to change party, although in terms of, legal legitimacy they have, I challenge the moral and character issue behind it. But let's be clear, it would be naive, perhaps even politically, intellectually dishonest, not to suspect that all of a sudden 80% are going to one way. The suspicion stems from the anxiety that these people might be doing so out of convenience, opportunism, or because they're being coerced to do so. It might not be true, but it is legitimate, it is logical to suspect that. And I think the president knows that people who support you out of fear or convenience cannot be good statements. In all this, they're living out the Commonwealth. And those of us who are interested in Commonwealth would like to invite the president to know that history will not judge you based on the number of governors that supported you, but based on how you left the institution you met. Let us assume that this president is perfect, is noble, and all the things he's doing is fantastic and is the best in the world. That still does not justify 80% of the support. But because he's not the best person in the world, because there are objections to him, it makes his support suspicious. At least as president, he has not cured malaria, he has not cured obesity, corruption, or bald head for people. So, it's not a miracle worker that you say, oh, wow, even Jesus did not get 80% support, or Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So, this thing is suspicious. I think that the president and the government in general should make it their duty to ensure there's a vibrant opposition, because it will legitimate their victory if they eventually win. And before then, for the benefit of all of us, it will sharpen their view. Options, policies, and decisions for it to work well need to be confronted with alternatives. That is why the Institute of Opposition was established. And anybody who destroys it destroys the fabric of democracy.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Killer, for speaking with us this morning. Very interesting as we've looked into different aspects of Nigeria's economy, security, better still, wrapped up in the word state of the nation. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Professor Killer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, the front pages of the newspapers will be up next. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central, and we're all geared up and ready for the newspaper headlines, one of my best segments
with
on
your best
Breakfast Central. And joining us to do this is the CEO of Sustainable Stories Africa, Owade Ahime. A warm welcome to you, Owade, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Benga likes to put what's it called, spice and
Ajasa.
Yeah, Ajasa. Thank
And
you.
I must say this.
Morning, Olive.
I've never told
Morning,
you this.
Joe.
Listen to this line.
I've never said this to you before, and it's with great humility that I would like to let you know that you're one of my favorite newspaper analysts.
I'm humbled.
In the world.
I'm humbled. I am truly humbled.
Yes.
Truly.
You forgot to add
Owade,
something.
You forgot to add
Today.
something for today.
Just for today. For
And
now.
I'm always, whether it's for now or it's forever.
Because he says
He's humble.
every analyst that comes in.
Benga.
Politician.
Babanga politician.
It's great to have you. So many things happening across the
I'm
world.
wondering why he's on TV,
and,
he's on TV and not on special assistant.
Yeah. So many things are happening in the world. What newspaper do we start with? Let's start with the Punch newspaper. Producers, can we have the Punch newspaper up, please? IGP, State Police, IGP sets up panel to propose framework. Yes, there you have it. The IGP is setting up a panel to propose a framework.
Well, very interesting headline we have there. We can also see new police chief insists force next not threatened. Okay, that's a bit.
No, I think I'll just start with that first.
Let's just take that.
The president seems to be very determined to implement this state policing, and the first assignment for the newly minted IGP, Mr. Tunji Disu, is to set up the modalities. He's also giving the instruction to the National Assembly and Senate President to come up with the excellent laws that will back the creation of state policing. What's your take on the idea of state policing? Would it resolve our insecurity crisis, or do we need to improve on the Nigerian police in its current structure? Where do you fall? Who exists you?
How do you form?
How do I form? Or how do I fall? Either which way. Anyway, I do think, I've always believed that, and this is my opinion, that state policing is good, but we need to get it right first time so that we get it right always. And the reason is this, because at the end of the day, I do think and I do believe it would get policing to be more grassroots, because then it's not just saying you have a police station here and then how do you interact with the community, because they will all be part and parcel. Not that the Nigerian police force or members of the Nigerian police force today are not part and parcel of the community, but then you have people who are closer. So if my neighbor works in the police and so on and so forth, then it's easier to run to that person and say, I see what is happening in my neighborhood. How do you think we can provide better security? But the thing I don't want is, I was on another platform this morning and someone called in and said, oh, it's just a 7-man panel. I have no committee. I have no problem with the number of people in that committee. What I think and I believe should be done is they must have a guideline of the things they want to find out, not just from the state government or the legislature or the legislative arms of governance, but also from the people, so that we better understand what community policing should be like from the state perspective. That's one. Then the second part must be clear guidelines on the funding, because you can't provide security without funding.
Very important.
If we set up state police and we get to the situation whereby we're unable to pay them salaries, whether big or small, as at when due, then it doesn't change.
It's back to square one.
It doesn't change anything. It goes back to the fact that they are human beings, and I'm not telling them that they should go against the rules and regulations, but human beings being who they are, their first allegiance is to themselves. And that's the reality. And what makes that allegiance come to you is where you share those allegiances, is where you have decent economic incentives backing them up. So it's the same way with anybody who works in any organization. At a point in time, you say, oh, the salary is no longer enough. You get? And even for founders, oh, we are not making enough money. And so these are the realities that we need to face. And I don't think it's something that you come out after 1 month and say, oh, we've gone around Nigeria.
Exactly. It shouldn't be rushed.
No, we shouldn't rush it. If it's going to take us a year, 2 years to get out this legislation properly, because there are different intricacies. I was also listening to another platform today where people are saying, oh, are you going to include in the new regulations that only indigenes of that state?
Yeah, they are valid concerns.
But my question will be, who is an indigene of the state? If I've lived in a state for the last 30 years, am I not an indigene? And I've been in security for the last 10, 15 years, don't I have a right
to be part of that?
Exactly. So these are things, and
it's not as simple as we make
it. No, they're delicate things. They're delicate things we need to manage properly and tread well. Why? Because at the end of the day, in my opinion, I do believe state policing is the right way to go, but I don't think it's something we need to rush.
All right, let's quickly take a little pause on the papers right now. Let's join our correspondent, Joshua Marayi, who is somewhere. We do learn that there is a protest, and we really want to know what's going on. Joshua, thanks for joining us this morning. Can you bring us up to speed on what's really happening?
Just on this case, he accused himself when a party to this matter said, we don't trust you. Then Justice Abdul Malik should tell us why she insisted on going on with this case in spite of the concern of a party. So we are calling on CJN, we are calling on all lovers of democracy that this cannot continue. She should recuse herself from this case, and we are calling on Justice Sowell, the chairman, and the president of Federal High Court, to reassign the case to a justice with moderate tendencies, a justice that believes in doing what is signed up to do to protect justice and democracy of this country. We will not allow them to kill that. The message is clear. Judiciary, save our democracy. Judiciary, save our democracy. Judiciary, save our democracy. Our democracy is under threat. Thank you, gentlemen of the court.
Hold on, sir. I just have two questions before you go. Your name first.
My name is Oladimeji Fabi, and I'm a national leader, national officer of the party.
Okay, now you said
national secretary of the ADC. For me to come here, it means I lay so much importance to what these people are doing.
Okay, you said earlier on that you have evidence that she has been bought over by some parties. Our conduct, our proceedings confirms that. I can give you an instance.
How can a judge who is sitting on a case be bullying the lawyer of a party because you have an ulterior motive, because you have been given, I don't know who is giving her instruction.
So you say her conduct has shown?
Her conduct has shown. It's easy to see. What is there when the party said we don't have confidence in you, then you recuse yourself.
Just to get you clear, any party has said that they want her to recuse herself from the case?
Yes. The ADC lawyers have said we don't have confidence. It's there before her, but she insisted that she's going to go ahead with it. We will not allow that to happen. You see in the statement the leader of the protest read, they will be here tomorrow to occupy this place. Let them bring all the police in Nigeria. We'll tell the police that they are supposed to protect us. Yes. They are supposed to protect the democracy. That's why I've come to identify with these people.
One last question. Are you aware that a party has dragged Justice Joyce Abdulmalik, the Federal High Court, to another court?
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. I am not aware, but it's possible, because when a judge is when a nation is failing, when executive is becoming reckless, it is the judiciary that steps in. That's what we are saying. That's true. They should step in and reset the order for this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. You have spoken well. God bless you, sir.
Save our democracy. Save our democracy. Save our democracy.
Yeah, the message is simple, like my brothers have said. The truth is that we are passing vote of no confidence on Justice Abdulmalik. She's already compromised. We don't have confidence in her.
Yes,
she is. Her previous conduct have shown. She was the one that sent El-Rufai, the opposition leader,
and
Malami. She had taken. You check her record, you know that she does not conform in the tenets of democracy in this country. So the woman is being sponsored by APC. The woman is being manipulated by Wike. Wike has sworn that nobody will contest against Bola Tinubu.
Yes.
And we want to sound it as note of warning that should that woman come to court tomorrow, we will make sure she will not leave this court. That woman, today we are issuing an ultimatum that today Justice Abdulmalik should recuse herself from that case that involves ADC. That we need a more moral, justified judge to handle our case, because democracy is under threat. Yes. Forget, if there is no judiciary, we operate military rule. So judiciary is the oil that garnishes democracy. Since Abdulmalik has decided to destroy our democracy, we are not going to have any other option than to make sure she is destroyed. Because Nigeria is bigger than her. Nobody is bigger than Nigeria. Tinubu is not bigger than Nigeria. Wike is not bigger than Nigeria. They came and became Nigerians. Nigeria was in existence before Bola Tinubu was born. And the Wike came to become a Nigerian. And we will not watch them destroy our country. And this country must continue. Opposition must strive. Democracy must continue. Because Bola Tinubu and Wike are major beneficiaries of democracy. They should not come and destroy it for us. And we are saying no to Justice Joyce Abdulmalik. If she wants to try us tomorrow, we are coming to occupy her. And if she feels people like us we have been quiet all this while, now we have come out. Nigeria must wake up. The truth is that we are sending strong message to Bola Tinubu. We are sending strong message to Bola Tinubu. Nobody says Bola Tinubu should know that he can never contest the presidency of Nigeria alone. And the Nigerians are tired of him. And Nigerians have a position that is greater than APC. And that is where all Nigerians have started to align with. And because they have seen that ADC is a party to beat, they are trying to use Justice Malik to destroy it. And we will not allow that. Thank you very much.
Before you go, sir, sorry, sir, before you go, one question. Your name, sir?
My name is Cardinal Comrade Franklin Madabuche Dede.
You said something earlier that El-Rufai is appearing before Justice Abdulmalik. Same Malami. Are you saying everything, the whole cases that they are appearing before Justice Abdulmalik is connected to ADC?
Yeah, she's the hatchet woman of the APC, and they use her to carry out the hatchet job.
How did you know that? Do you have evidence?
The evidences are there now. Are you not seeing it? Malami is in prison. El-Rufai is in prison. They went through her, and she wants to destroy ADC so that we will not have any opposition. Bola Tinubu is gone, and this is going to be the last. We are going to want them.
Save our democracy.
Well, you heard from the gentleman. They are quite disgruntled at the fact that Justice Joyce Abdulmalik is sitting on the case of Malami, El-Rufai, and even the ADC. And what these individuals are saying is that Justice Joyce Abdulmalik immediately recused herself from the case of the ADC and the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court should immediately appoint a new judge to take over the case forthwith. Over to you in the studio.
Thank you very much for that very detailed response regarding this. We'll come back into the studio to continue the conversation. In case people are wondering why there was an issue, the hula baloo. So they said that the problem started when the judge came down heavily on his counsel. Jerry, this is Ukandu. It's a long explanation, but they're saying that they're seeking another order directing Abdul Malik to recuse herself from the suit on grounds of manifest bias and grave likelihood against the plaintiff. Ukandu is the National Welfare Secretary of the ADC, and he said that the judge came down heavily on his counsel during the proceedings of October 23rd, 2025, for not filing a response to the originating summons served on him barely 24 hours earlier by plaintiff's counsel, and that the court abridged the time for response from 30 days to 7 days. So that looked already like bias to them. The claimant said he was dissatisfied with the ruling and petitioned he petitioned the second defendant against the said ruling and demanded a transfer of his case to another judge on grounds of manifest bias and grave likelihood of bias on the part of the court against the claimant. We'll continue to follow this. I mean, there have been cases where certain justices have been asked to recuse themselves from a particular matter because of some form of overriding interest or the likelihood of bias. So it's not a new thing to see people ask for a judge to because the role of justice
do it voluntarily.
Voluntarily. The
like
role of justice
Binta Yanko.
Yes,
and
in Nnamdi Kanu's case. The role of justice really is to be seen, not just to be done, but manifestly done by all. So if these people feel like this would impede on their ability to get justice, then that should be looked
absolutely
into.
Right.
Let's get back into the newspaper front pages. Still on the front page of the Punch, I won't die anytime soon. Obasanjo declares at 89.
Amen.
Amen. Federal government approves 1.2 trillion naira for Ibadan Elisha Road and others.
It's
Tinubu,
Elisha.
Elisha, sorry.
Repeat after me. Elisha.
Elisha.
Okay.
Federal government approves 1.2 trillion naira for Ibadan, Elisha Road and others. Tinubu holds cashless airport toll. Over gridlock chaos. I'm sure you saw that.
Let's take
First
that.
of all,
they your
they
systems guy.
Announced cashless.
So
the thing caused serious traffic gridlock. Now they've come to unannounce it.
You know what? It beats me where I am all for technology. Nobody should ever get
technology.
However, you have, based on my experience of setting up, whether it's banking systems or systems in the energy sector, that's what you call, it's a process. You don't just go live.
Test run, troubleshooting, hybrid.
No, so you start with the implementation plan, and then it's okay. This is how we're going to implement it, and then you take the first part, and then you do the test run, and say, okay, maybe this particular number of cars, 500 cars from this area, so that every other person can go on, so that we can test, the speed and the things that you require. That's the second part. Then the third plan in part of all these project planning, or the first thing is, or the third part for me will be, which is something that you have to first communicate about the plan, is when these things are going to happen. I'm sure they will say, oh, they've said that, they've said this. For the first time, I heard it on March 1st, March 2nd.
And you're someone that interacts with the media on a daily basis. You're exposed.
That's the first time I heard it. And the reason why I heard was because the queues, and I was wondering what was causing traffic that day. All through, backs right up to Ikorodu Road.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
It's that bad.
That's how bad it is. Backed up right from Oshodi into going to Bagada.
Wow.
That's how bad it was. Because once you disrupt traffic in one space,
second spread.
It goes.
Backs up.
I was scared I think it was on Monday, on Tuesday, I was scared of going to the island. And then from there, so I needed to go for an appointment in Lekki because they were fixing the front of Lekki. They're fixing Lekki. And I give them kudos for that. Because the week before when I went, I noticed that they were, and then the traffic was moving a bit, but you could see that there was a bit of gridlock because first of all, the way Nigerians drive is reckless.
Reckless.
However, when I went there, I was in VIA, and then someone called me and said, oh, meet me in Lekki. And then I put on my Google map and he said 15 minutes. I was like, are you sure? He says, oh, the traffic is just, I should go through Ikoyi. And I said, no, well, since he says I should go. And I got there. They had fixed that part within a week. On both sides, just by the Lekki gate, going out and going in. And traffic was already moving. And these are the things that you need to do. But you need to also inform people so that they can plan. That's a major road. This is the international airport, the biggest airport in Nigeria. It's in Lagos. It's not in Abuja. It's not in Kano. It's not in Port Harcourt. It's not in Enugu. It's in Lagos. Many airlines, are you with me? Take 2 flights out of Lagos.
On a daily basis.
On a daily basis. And the time that it starts to happen is first in the evening, when most airlines are dropping in and most airlines are going out. So how do you do this kind of things? And then you say, then you put it on social media now that this card, see, the Minister of Interior has done a great job with the airport.
Minister of Aviation?
No.
Interior.
The Minister of Interior. The Minister of Aviation has collaborated with him to ensure that those things have been done. However, when you get to that point, even just having a toll gate where you pay cash, he can back traffic. Because change and no change. And that's why today, many of those places, and those are also part of the problem. It used to be 200 naira, then it moved to 300 naira. Now it's 500 naira. First and foremost, you don't even see the 100 naira and the 200 naira notes. So it just, and these things continue to increase the inflation. Why? Because where you are supposed to pay 100 naira, are you with me? Because there is no 100 naira, you move it to 200 naira. Now there is no 200 naira, you move it to 500 naira. The day 500 naira cash becomes scarce, it becomes 1,000. It's as simple as that.
Money changers. If you want to see them, go for Lekki wedding on Saturday.
That's irrelevant or immaterial bringer. But the fact remains that there must be, project management is about planning, milestones, and each milestone must be announced clearly. Did you giving people time?
Sorry, but did you hear what the minister said? I don't know if we have the footage there. Festus Keyamo, Honorable Festus Keyamo, said that the president had instructed him during the Federal Executive Committee meeting yesterday. I don't know if we have that footage. You can put that out.
That they should stop it.
Yeah, Nigerians are wondering, did you have to wait? So it also shows the burden a president carries on his head when already he has foot soldiers who ordinarily he will expect, or he would expect that they know what to do. But it had to come from. But let's take a listen. Let's take a listen.
The present cashless system we introduced at our toll gates across the country in order to eliminate corruption and optimize revenue for the federal government. You recall that this practice had gone on for more than 50 years, where we collect cash, where the operators of the toll gates, Federal Airport Authority, they collect cash from motorists at the points of collection across the country, mostly the toll gates, and other points like the parking lots and all of that. However, with the introduction of the cashless system less than a week ago, it's created a lot of gridlock across the country. Mr. President was very concerned about the welfare of Nigerians and the fact that most Nigerians were losing their flights, missing their flights. And so Mr. President, out of empathy, directed today that we should suspend the present system because it creates a lot of gridlock, and Nigerians are suffering as a result of it. Mr. President therefore directed me that we should go back to the drawing board. We should go back to status quo, suspend the present system whereby people will have to pay through the various means we have introduced at the various gates across the country, and then go and perfect the system properly. In fact, the president directed me that this should not...
You know, let me say something to this, and it's so amazing. You know, we talk about cashless, and in 2023, when we tried to make Nigeria cashless, this same group of people were the first to go to court. That's one. Two, let's remember that the airport, even toll gates at the airport, I think is completely wrong. Because many people going to the airport, are you with me, is one-off.
You don't go every day unless...
Where you need tolls at the airport are the parking spaces. There's no airport I've been.
You're
and
right.
That's why you
You're
have...
right.
No.
Fact.
That's why you have drop-off zones. And when you stay longer than expected at drop-off zones, you pay a huge fine. This issue about just wanting to collect money from Nigeria, empathy, nobody, this administration moved the cost of passport by 100%. What is duly rightful to every Nigerian to have? Where's the empathy? It's really, in the last 2 years, I said I've let my head down because so that I don't even want fresh air to blow on it. These are the kind of things I hear, and it's just annoying. Empathy? Every Nigerian citizen has a right to a Nigerian passport at the cheapest cost. But it's time to collect money. You deprive Nigerian citizens, those who are not even going to the airport, who go through that route, to go to their houses. They are stuck in traffic 3, 4, 5 hours. And then the next day, if he doesn't come to work on time because he's tired, you give him a query and reduce his salary. It is just unbecoming, in my own opinion. Very unbecoming.
And like
this
Joe
issue
said,
of just wanting to collect money,
did he have to take Mr. President's directive?
Yes, it's just ridiculous.
This. After day one, you've seen the chaos.
Do you have to wait for your MD to give you the instruction every day to come and do Breakfast Central?
At all.
Or do you wait for your MD to give you all the stories every day on Breakfast Central? Why do you have people that have been appointed or employed in organizations and fill different roles? Or do you even wait for your director of programs to tell you? It just gives you a guide of what the program should be. And then you go fill it in. When you are looking for your guests and all, is it the director or the MD that calls them for you? Sometimes. And then it's ridiculous that he says that. It's just amazing that, I don't know, you called him Honorable Festus Keyamo. I don't know how honorable that is.
We've said this thing many times.
I don't know how honorable all these things are. Mr. President, this, I can't sleep in my house at night, Mr. President. I can't go to the bathroom, Mr. President. I can't switch on the light, Mr. President. I can't drive my car, Mr. President. Petrol price has gone up, Mr. President. Just kill the Mr. President.
Just a quick one before we move to another paper. We're running out of time here.
3 minutes, Winga.
Lagos prosecutes 4,000 residents for illegal waste dumping. So the Minister of Environment, Honorable Tokunbo Wahab, has been clamping down on. He feels it's a discipline problem. Meanwhile, we have a system-wide institutional problem in clearing dump. Of course, we can't dismiss the human factor to it, but I think we need more holistic solutions. But this is great. I mean, the other day I saw someone defecating in the middle of the, and it's so, imagine tourists just driving around Lagos and you see someone defecating.
I'm sorry to interject
even the
you.
signboard,
I'm sorry
do not defecate.
Benga,
it's an eyesore.
I'm sorry to interject you, but let me just say this. Where in a state, you have public toilets that are padlocked so that one person will open it for you.
250, 200 naira.
How does that work?
You have to answer the call of nature.
Actually, in some other African countries, it still happens there.
No. We're not
where
saying
you
it
pay
doesn't
to use the bathroom.
Which bathroom?
Public bathroom now.
Which public space is that?
Yeah, public spaces. In Namibia, I remember, for example, that, in fact, I still have the picture. They tell you to pay some money to be able to use the toilet. Because they need to pay people.
So are we copying these things?
We need to take a very quick break. So we'll come back to wrap
we need to earn our money this
Please earn your money.
Let's take a very quick break. We'll be right back.